administration. But now what we have is just a team full of sycophants, if I can put it that way. And nobody has the temerity, nobody has the integrity to call Donald Trump on the carpet. And so when Donald Trump says anything, he gets what he wants. And part of what he wants is for James Comey, who is on his enemies list. There's a long enemies list. But this is really the first time, to my mind, that I've seen it go down like this. Now, nothing in this era of Donald Trump 2.0 surprises me. But Donald Trump suggested some days ago that James Comey ought to be prosecuted. And lo and behold, this administration shows up a few days later with an indictment of James Comey. That's a scary, and even a more slippery, put it that way, a more slippery slope than the one I thought we were already on, when the president can call somebody out on his enemies list, suggest that they ought to be prosecuted, and then out of the blue, you come up with some indictment. That's really the backstory. What's your read of that Donald Trump, again, sort of outed him and told his team, go after him, and they did? I mean, if that isn't politicizing law enforcement agencies in this country, I don't know what is it.
Yeah, it's basically the definition of that, right? And the overreach here, it seems apparent, right? Obviously you wait to see what sort of evidence they have, but given that what I'm understanding that the new U.S. attorney is the only one to sign on to the indictment, kind of shows that the career prosecutors within justice didn't go along with the new appointed U.S. attorney, right? Mm-hmm. And I think you're hearing just sort of the widespread reaction in the legal community that this is a thin case, that, under normal circumstances, you wouldn't bring it. And it'll be a question whether it actually gets heard in court. Now, that stated, I'm no fan of Donald Trump, but I'm going to pivot and focus on the role of the FBI director. And,
sure.
and as an FBI director, James Comey injected himself, into presidential elections at the highest level. You put a pin in the conversation around Hillary Clinton, and we all remember the role that he played in 2016 when he reopened the case shortly before Election Day into the questionable emails or the server that Hillary Clinton was purported to have used. And we know that had an impact on the 2016 election. Mm-hmm. And he played a role in the 2020 election. And so to have an FBI director so carelessly tipping the scales in presidential election is also unheard of. And while that's not what he's on trial for, I will say it doesn't bring me any sort of sympathy for him. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I was about to ask that question. So I felt you tiptoeing up to that. So let's just go there. We ain't gotta play games. Let's just tiptoe. Instead of tiptoeing, rather go straight to it. And that is this notion that there are, in fact, Democrats. I said this earlier. And I'm glad you went a little deeper with it. There are Democrats who have no love. I expect today, when I saw this story break last night, that there aren't a whole lot of Democrats crying tears for James Comey. Because many believe that he sort of tipped the scale. And that's the irony. The irony is, and there are a number of ironies here, but one of the ironies that comes to mind, Ed, is that we don't like to see a president move in authoritarian and fascist ways like Donald Trump is. And this is just another item, another issue that we could add to the long list of things that Donald Trump is doing every day, that shows very clearly that we are not just moving into, already in, I think, an authoritarian state, that fascism is in full effect right now. This is just another item. So when the head of state, again, can just call somebody out who's on his enemies list and say, go after him, and then all the levers of power in terms of our law enforcement apparatus go after him, and a few days later he is actually indicted, that's horrible. I mean, imagine, that next is you or your mama or your cousin or somebody else, the president just calls you out, and before you know it, you're indicted. And now you're trying to defend yourself. I mean, that is not the way a democracy, obviously, ought to run. But to your point, I can't imagine that there aren't a whole lot of Democrats today who, again, saying, well, maybe Trump did it the wrong way, and yeah, it's an authoritarian play, but we ain't got no love for James Comey. So it raises questions to my mind as to how the media today and how Democrats writ large are going to play this. What's your sense of how Democrats specifically are going to respond to this, given the fact that you've already been honest about your feelings, and I don't think you're the only one, Ed.
No, I honestly, I think it's most Democrats, most elected, most, I think my emotion towards James Comey, should be widely felt across Democratic circles. But I also think that folks are looking to take a shot at Trump any chance they get. And, there's a little overreach in that, right? Comey is Comey and Trump is going after Comey in this instance. Now, don't get me wrong. I know Trump has a long list of political enemies and that sort of thing. And it is kind of fair to assume that he will continue this sort of pattern. But, also at the same time, I think Comey, he's got a real thing to get Comey. And, in the end game, ultimately, I think folks are going to try to drive Trump's negatives, right? And where people feel like an overreach in prosecution is a negative, I think, yeah, they'll try to drive it. I just don't know that the country is going to rally around Comey. And so trying to drive Trump's negatives while he's prosecuting what I think is a very unpopular figure, and I have no polling to back that up, but my sense is that James Comey is no hero on the left and he's no hero on the right. Because also, as far as we feel on the Democrat side, how he played a role in Hillary Clinton's demise in the presidential election, he was also the one that continued the Russia investigation from the Trump perspective, right? And so you've got all of the MAGA world and the Republicans that feel that he carried on a hoax of a Russian investigation. And so, rallying around some a figure like him doesn't really earn you points in my book. I don't see how the Democrats continue to do that. They may just let Comey float in the wind.
See, and that's where it gets tricky for me, Ed. So I'm glad this is getting rich, as we say around here. It's getting rich. That's where it gets funny for me and frankly, funky for me, because Democrats, it seems to me, have, given your expressed sentiment, Democrats have a decision to make, a principled decision to make. Do you let James Comey just, float out there because you ain't got no love for him in the first place? Or do you press the issue that Donald Trump is out of control and this is not how you run a democracy? So today is James Comey, who you may have no love for. Tomorrow it's Barack Obama, who you adore. And that's exactly the frame that we're in. I mean, it's Comey today. And to your point, not a whole lot of us care about James Comey. Again, Donald Trump may very well be president the second time because he was there the first time, but he was there the first time in part because of James Comey. So we can blame Comey for all of this, and I think some people do. So there's no love for him today, but tomorrow he goes after Obama, and Obama is indicted tomorrow. And as you well know, that's not a joke because Trump has floated that idea as well. It just hasn't come to fruition. So it seems to me that we can be in our feelings, and I'm not suggesting you shouldn't be. I'm not suggesting Democrats shouldn't be in their feelings, but you can be in your feelings about James Comey. But at the same time, there's a more important principle that's been violated here, and I'm going to be fascinated to watch today, next couple of days, to see again how Democrats respond to this. That's a tricky situation. That's tricky terrain, Ed.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you. It just, to your point, I would put my capital on the second person, right? Right. If I'm elected, I'm not spinning wheels on James Comey, but let him come after the next person. Now there's a pattern, and now we dive in really, really hard there. But you're not wrong. The principle is still the principle, and James Comey's going to have to fight that one out in court from my perspective, right? I would sacrifice James Comey to wait for the next one and see, because the next person will have some measure of popularity.
Wow. You got to respect Ed's transparency. You got to respect his honesty about how he feels about it. And as I keep saying, I don't think that Ed is the only one that feels that way. So it's going to be interesting to see today and tomorrow. Now this news is out there. And in case you just tuned in, I'm Tavis Smiley, talking to Ed Sanders, political insider extraordinaire, sitting in for Dominic DePrima. I am, but we're talking about the news that broke last night about James Comey, former FBI director himself, who was indicted last night by the Trump administration after Donald Trump some days ago indicated that he ought to be prosecuted. And then lo and behold, because he's president and there are folk around him who do whatever he says, James Comey, in fact, got indicted last night. And so it's going to be a huge story for the coming days. But again, this is what Ed is properly framing for us is what this conversation is going to sound like, what it's going to look like, what it's going to read like the next few days. And there'll be Democrats, I can assure you, on both sides of this. There'll be some saying what I've just said, that there's a principle at stake here, that we might not like James Comey, but today it's Comey, tomorrow it's Barack Obama. There'll be others saying exactly what Ed Sanders is saying, which is that, James Comey, you kick rocks. You're on your own, buddy. You did us no favors when Hillary was running, and the guy that you helped get elected by the way you moved and showed up then has now come after you. So if you hadn't created this monster by your bad behavior, your misbehavior then, maybe you wouldn't be in trouble now. Because one thing is for certain, if Hillary were president, you wouldn't have been indicted by her administration. So you got yourself to blame for this. Now, that's the James Comey piece. This story gets further complicated, Ed, as you well know. Let me just tee this up now, and we'll talk about it more in detail when we come forward. The story is further complicated because this is now the second time, not the first time, that Donald Trump has gone after the Comey family. Y'all remember this, right? Mm-hmm. James Comey is the father of a woman named Maureen Comey. Maureen Comey was in the U.S. Attorney's Office, a very respected, high-ranking U.S. attorney in New York City, who was involved in both the Epstein case and the Sean Puffy Combs case. She was involved in both of those cases in the U.S. Attorney's Office in New York. And some weeks ago, she was summarily fired out of the blue. They have the right to do it. She was fired by the Department of Justice. Just pink slipped and said, take your boxes and go home. So they went after James Comey's daughter first, and now they're coming after James Comey. Maureen, last I read, had filed a lawsuit or said she was going to sue the administration for her firing. But this is taking two shots now at one family. The daughter was fired first as U.S. attorney, and now her father, the former FBI director, James Comey, has been indicted. At least Maureen wasn't indicted for anything. She was just fired. But now her father has been indicted. That's a bold move when you go after an entire family. I'm Tavis Smiley, sitting in for Dominic DePrima. You're listening to First Things First. Our guest is Ed Sanders. More with him when we come forward.
More of First Things First with Dominic DePrima when we come forward.
I'm Alexandria Ikamoni with BIN News Now. President Trump says, quote, radical left rhetoric, end quote, is behind the deadly shooting at an ICE facility in Texas. The president went on to blast, quote, dumb people on the left, end quote, like Black Representative Jasmine Crockett of Texas for spreading out of control hate. One person died and two more are in critical condition after the shooter opened fire on the ICE facility. The Fed said that in one note, allegedly written by the gunman, said that ICE agents were collecting a, quote, dirty paycheck.
He hoped his actions would terrorize ICE and interfere with their work, which he called human trafficking.
The Trump administration is pulling $65 million in federal grants from New York City, Chicago, and Fairfax, Virginia magnet schools, affecting many kids, including many Black kids. They're accused of violating civil rights laws pertaining to transgender and diversity and equity programs. Get BIN News Now on the iHeartRadio app.
Do you really know what's in your tap water? LifeSource believes your water should support your health, not work against it. Upgrade your water with a LifeSource Whole House Water System during September's Double Dip promo. Call 800-WATER-99 or visit LifeSourceWater.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers continued their ownership of the National League West Division. Their 8-0 win Thursday at Arizona secured their fourth straight division title and 12th in the last 13 years. Winning the title gives the Dodgers a first-round bye and home field advantage in their first playoff series. The Dodgers wrap up the regular season with a 3-game series at Seattle beginning tonight. Seattle won the American League West title. J.J. Redick will be the Lakers head coach for a while. The Lakers extended Redick's contract with a multi-year deal that will keep him as head coach beyond 2028. Redick signed a 4-year contract with the Lakers when he was hired in June of 2024. The Lakers had a pretty good season in Redick's first year as a head coach on any level. They won 50 games last season and finished third in the Western Conference. The Lakers opened training camp on Monday. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
So many things, big and little, make you uniquely you, your hobbies, dreams, career, family, and more. Addiction to drugs, including opioids and stimulants, can strip these away from you. Recover your life. Choose treatment for drug addiction and get back to what matters most. Find a provider and proven treatment option that's right for you at ChooseChangeCA.org. Recover you.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Let's go!
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Hey, KBLA 1580 delegation, your health matters to us. We know that information is power, especially when it comes to prevention and treatment. That's why we're proud to introduce the brand new KBLA Health and Wellness Hub. This online space is built just for you, connecting our community to trusted health resources, culturally relevant care, and even access to diverse clinical trials and emerging therapies. Whether you're looking for information on common conditions, mental health support, or just want to stay on top of your wellness journey, we got you. And the best part, it's all on our website at KBLA1580.com. Accessible, empowering, community focused. So just go to KBLA1580.com and click on the Health and Wellness Hub icon, because knowledge is power and your health is everything. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Thanks for starting your morning off with a voice that speaks truth to power and the powerless, getting to the heart of what matters most in our community. This is where authentic conversation meets real action. From breaking news and politics to culture and community solutions, this is where you hear perspectives you won't hear anywhere else. This is where we come together, get informed, and make change happen. You're inside First Things First with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Good morning, sunshine. You make my day.
I can't believe how spotless my floors look after using the Swiffer Power Mop. No more dragging around a heavy mop and messy bucket. Now I get the same deep clean without all the work. Thanks to the powerful solution and scrubbing pad of the Swiffer Power Mop, dirt and grime don't stand a chance, and I don't break a sweat. Mic drop. Mop drop.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
A smarter way to mop. Try it or your money back.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Tavis Smiley, sitting in for Dominique DePrima today on First Things First. Our guest, as usual on Fridays, is Ed Sanders, political insider. And we're talking about the news of the day. In case you missed it last night, James Comey, the former FBI director, was indicted by the Trump administration. And Ed and I are trying to make some sense of that. And it's really not that difficult to make sense of. Donald Trump has long disliked and detested James Comey ever since Comey led an investigation into Russian interference, as Ed said earlier, in the 2016 election. So the inquest then ultimately did not prove that Trump's campaign had colluded with Moscow. And the president claims to this very day that it was, in fact, a witch hunt designed to hurt him politically. So he ain't been feeling James Comey since 2016. in this election about Russian interference. I'm reading now from the New York Times. Yesterday's indictment was bare bones. Again, Ed laid this out earlier, a one-count indictment of making a false statement and one count of obstructing Congress. The charge sheet says that Comey lied during a Senate hearing when he said he had not authorized a news leak about the FBI's investigations. The lead prosecutor here also tried to indict Comey, Ed, on a second charge of making a false statement, but the grand jury rejected it. Finally, to convict James Comey, the government must prove not only that his statement was false, but also that he knew it was false when he testified. Comey faces up to 5 years in prison if convicted, although many prosecutors believe, as Ed Sanders does, it's going to be very, very difficult to prove. But nonetheless, James Comey is now under indictment by the federal government. In case you've just tuned in, we added to that moments ago that his daughter Maureen, who had been a U.S. attorney in New York, was involved in both the Epstein case and the Sean Puffy Combs case. Maureen, some weeks ago, was summarily fired by the Department of Justice, the Trump Department of Justice. So this is not once now, Ed, but twice that Trump has gone after the same family. What say you?
Yeah, and add to that, I think as the indictment was filed, Maureen's husband, who also works for justice, I think resigned on the spot as well. So there's a third family member on the Comey side that's impacted by it. It's unfortunate, but those are the risks, right? When you're in office, it's less concerning to me. But it's so important to realize the role that the investigations that we're talking about, the Hillary Clinton email server and the Russia investigation, the role that those played in shaping our opinions about either candidate. And that to me is sort of the most important part. And while the case is really about whether he lied to, I think it was Ted Cruz or to Congress in general, when he made his statement, the real issue to me is that, the presidential election was largely decided on narratives around two investigations that neither investigation was worth anything, right?
Yeah.
I think, there were a few convictions around the Russia investigation, like Paul Manafort, but not for like the collusion that everyone was thinking was out there, right? And, when I go back and I look at 2016, I feel, goodness, we were so worked up about that. And even the Mueller investigation didn't really find the collusion, but that's what we all believed back then. And on the right, everyone was so worked up about, Hillary's emails and the server and how reckless she was. And there really was nothing there to that. And that, to me, I'm looking at the FBI director because he is leaking stuff, right? And I shouldn't say but there are leaks coming out of FBI to reporters, and reporters are continuing to write on it. And if ultimately there was really nothing there, I feel deceived as a voter. I'll put it that way. That's what bothers me the most, is that I feel deceived as an American voter.
On the leaks thing, I'd only say this, and you've been at this as long as I have, so you understand this as well. There are leaks everywhere. I mean, the White House has leaks, the Department of Defense. I mean, there are leaks all the time. So I don't want us to act as if there are only leaks coming out of the Department of Justice. But again, as I said, reading the New York Times, James Comey has to defend himself against these allegations that he knew about these leaks coming out of his office and that he may have in fact been a part of it himself. Number one. Number two, I wonder. This is kind of funny to me, at least. I wonder to the notion of Hillary Clinton that you raised earlier in this conversation. I wonder how Hillary Clinton feels today about this indictment, Ed.
Oh, I think she's drinking a champagne mimosa right now. I bet you she texted Donald Trump. I bet you.
Yeah, in case you tuned in late, Ed and I were talking earlier about the fact that many Democrats do have no love for James Comey. He laid that out nicely. I won't repeat it, but if you recall the election in 2016, Again, Donald Trump hates James Comey for these investigations that, had his name all in it. But Hillary paid the ultimate price, as Ed just laid out. These investigations sort of cast a doubt on her. They certainly cast aspersion on her. And the media and certainly the political right were able to use the way that James Comey was showing up against Hillary Clinton. And ultimately, I think many believe that James Comey, in part, cost her the election. Now, let's be clear. It wasn't just James Comey. Hillary should have gone back to Michigan again a few more times. That's a whole nother conversation about her political strategy leading up to the election day and the relative comfort they thought they had in pulling this thing off. So there are things I suspect they could have done differently in the waning days of that campaign, but they were certainly not aided and abetted by these investigations that were being overseen by James Comey. And many people think with those investigations, essentially put his thumb on the scale. And putting his thumb on the scale caused, certainly, again, aided and abetted, helped Hillary Clinton lose this election. So you hear Ed and I sort of chuckling about the fact that Hillary ain't crying no tears for James Comey either. I guarantee you that. But let me circle back to this larger issue that I've been trying to frame for this conversation, which is you can feel about James Comey the way you feel, but Donald Trump is just running amok when it comes to firing people and investigating people. So he says he wants James Comey prosecuted. Days later, we have an indictment. We established earlier in this dialogue that he went after, even weeks prior, his James Comey's daughter, that is Maureen Comey, and fired her from her job as U.S. attorney. But it's not even just that, Ed. You also saw the news in that last 48 hours or so that they are now investigating George Soros, the billionaire Democratic donor, and an investigation now is underway. Yeah, an investigation is now underway into his foundation and how they handled their business. And so, talk about an enemies list. So it's Comey, it's Soros. Who knows who it is tomorrow? And I'm not being funny at all, given the way that Donald Trump has talked about Barack Obama and suggested that Obama has done would engage in all kind of criminal activity. It could be Barack Obama tomorrow. No jokes here. You saw his United Nations speech. He just rambled and rambled and rambled. But I have never in my life, Ed, seen a U.S. president, and of course, Trump is different. We know that. But he shows up at the UN talking to the world community. This ain't a domestic speech. This is not a campaign speech. He's in front of the entire world at the UN, and he goes in on Joe Biden. But then you recall that point, he just went in on Barack Obama. He's talking to the world. He just goes in on Barack Obama. Clearly, Obama is living rent-free inside the head of Donald Trump. But I'm telling you right now, right here, you're hearing it first on First Things First. Do not be surprised if Donald Trump is so emboldened that at some point they find a way to indict Barack Obama. I'm telling you, Ed, that's the slope that we're on.
Yeah, and I listen, I don't disagree with you, right? Not one bit. In fact, I think you're absolutely right. It's one of the reasons to tune in to this show and others, because look, we're going to call it ahead of time, right?
Yeah.
On his list of folks, you've got, two African-American women prosecutors, and Letitia James in New York and Fani Willis out of Georgia that had the courage to prosecute him, right? You've seen him go after the Fed Reserve member,
Lisa Cook. Yeah.
And, you see this across the spectrum, and it's, he's going after particularly African-American women, because African-American women have had the strength and the confidence to challenge him more directly, but he's clearly going after them. And, I watched this news cycle to see how people rally around Comey.
Yeah.
To not because of Comey, but because of how they will rally around, African-American leaders doing government work.
Yeah.
And in that argument, you hear them say it, but they don't tell you that he's going after them because they're Black women.
Yeah.
Right. Like when you watch the mainstream media, they don't address it very directly. That bothers me. Now, to your point, Barack Obama, yeah, he's going to get after the former president as he, that would make his day. there's nothing there as far as I know. I don't think anyone thinks that there's ever anything there, and that's not going to stop him. But prosecuting Barack Obama is a much different paradigm than prosecuting James Comey.
No, I agree.
Right.
I couldn't agree more. I'm just saying I think that's where we're headed. And if we do not raise hell and draw the line on firing Maureen Comey and indicting James Comey, that's where we are headed. We'll pause there for now. You're listening to First Things First. I'm Tavis Smiley in conversation with Ed Sanders.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
Protect yourself from Medicare card scams. Scammers may call, email, or even knock on your door claiming they need your Medicare info, asking for money or threatening to cancel your benefits. Don't fall for it. It's a scam. Remember, Medicare doesn't need to verify your information. They already have it. Medicare won't charge you for a new card and will never threaten to cancel benefits. Check your Medicare statements for suspicious charges and report scams to the California Senior Medicare Patrol at 1-855-613-7080. We're here to help.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. Police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified pathologists on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on Autopsy, then click on Request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Founded in Los Angeles in 1986, litigation powerhouse Quinn Emanuel has deep roots in the Los Angeles community. Since 2007, we have litigated some of the largest fires on the West Coast. We are proud to be the only AmLaw 100 firm in the country to represent wildfire victims, giving affected individuals, families, and businesses the same focus and individualized attention we devote to our Fortune 500 clients. BTI Consulting has repeatedly recognized Quinn Emanuel as among the 4 law firms in-house counsel least liked to oppose in any litigation, and we are often deemed the most feared. And after securing over $80 billion for our clients in various matters firm-wide, we understand why. If you have been affected by the recent wildfires in Altadena and the Palisades and would like to discuss your situation further, please contact wildfiresupport@QuinnEmanuel.com or call us at 213-443-3050. Quinn Emanuel is proud to sponsor Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Broadcasting live from Leimert Park, USA. Welcome back to your home for unapologetically progressive radio. KBLA Talk 1580.
It's First Things First. I'm Tavis Smiley today with the honor of sitting in for Dominic DePrima, who returns to this chair on Monday. Some great guest hosts this week sitting in for Dominic while she was away. Melina Abdullah the first couple of days, as I recall, Dr. Sunshine the last couple of days, Shalonda Crawford. And I am closing out the week in this first hour. 2 great hours in front of us in our second hour today. It is the best of First Things First, Dominic's conversation with Dr. William Darity. It's a Freedman Friday, right? So the conversation with Dr. William Darity about reparations happens in the 7 o'clock hour. And then in the 8 o'clock hour, more of the best of First Things First, the artist Madison McFerrin in conversation with Dominic DePrima. So 2 great hours in front of us in case you missed those conversations when they were broadcast originally. William Darity on reparations in hour 2, the 7 o'clock hour. And then the artist, the music artist, Madison McFerrin today in the 3rd hour, the 8 o'clock hour here on First Things First. But we've got some more time left in this first hour with Ed Sanders. I want to just buttonhole right quick. I see a couple calls coming in. We may squeeze 1 or 2 in before the top of the hour, Ed. But I want to just buttonhole this thing right quick here about James Comey. Your sense is finally, again, for those who may have tuned in late, that Democrats are going to be more divided on this question about the principle of going after Trump for doing this versus, crying tears for James Comey. More divided, or you think there's going to be a pretty universal response where Democrats are going to give a big sigh about this indictment?
No, I think they'll raise, the alarm, right? I think for them politically, if they can try to drive, these news cycles are so quick, and they're always constantly trying to raise a negative. So I think they're going to stay unified in this is a travesty and this isn't what the department should do. Yeah. But behind the scenes, that there won't be any help for Comey. I don't know what help they could give Comey.
Yep. To Ed's point about Democrats being more unified, before we close this hour, I do want to talk about the issue of the government shutdown. Democrats had better figure out a way to be unified on this. So we'll spend just a couple minutes before we top of the hour to talk about the looming government shutdown. Democrats are posturing right now like they are not going to save the president. He canceled a meeting with Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, the leaders of the House and Senate on the Democratic side. To my mind, if you're canceling meetings with Democratic leaders, you can't be that serious about keeping the government afloat. It's almost as if Donald Trump is asking for a fight. He's goading. He's goading. He's trying to get Democrats to not support him and shut the government down. He must think there's something there. Again, if you're trying to save government, you're not canceling meetings with Democratic leaders. What's Donald Trump up to, and how do Democrats show up in this looming government shutdown that I think is more likely to happen than not? Put a pin in that for just a quick second. Lynette, we're tight on time, but you're on the air. How are you?
Good morning, and thank you for taking my call, and God bless to both of y'all. Thank you for all you do. I think that this is a real diversionary tactic from the chaos agent that we call President Trump and his administration, from the Epstein file and all the other things that are going wrong in this country. And yeah, James Comey should get his due process. I know this is a political witch hunt, but then you have to go back even further, say, hey, we've got an FBI department that has been questionable all along. And when it started trying to do right, then here comes Trump, and he's up here cleaning house. So, you can go back into the 60s, back there with Hoover, and even into the 90s when Hazel O'Leary and them got fired under Clinton. I mean, what kind of help? Why ain't nobody been saying nothing about the FBI until now, until Trump come along?
No.
Y'all have a blessed day, and thank you.
Thank you, Lynette. Very quickly, Ed, what do you say about this? Trump is the master of that. Maybe this is just another one of those diversionary tactics.
Yeah, true. But I love her other point. Listen, you're not going to get any tears in the Black community about the FBI.
That's right.
and she laid it all out.
Yeah.
And she's right on that. So I high five to that one.
No, we can go back. We can go back to COINTELPRO, and you're right. And you're gonna get no tears about the way the FBI shows up in Black America. But I digress on that for now. One more call, right quick. Kwamel, you're on the air. How are you, sir?
My honor to talk to you, Brother Tavis and Brother Sanders. Yes, and just to know what kind of scum Trump is, I think back to when Andrew McCabe was one day from retirement, and this monster fires him, basically destroying, his pension, all that. I don't know what other kind of guy Andrew McCabe was, but the whole point is to see this monster is out here on a whole tip of just ruining lives for sport. Every kind of life, whether it's the average immigrant, whether it's these Black women workers in the federal government, just the idea of ruining lives for sport. There's nothing presidential about that. He is a moron, and he is all other words that you could think of, and there's no way we should have a country carrying on like this.
Yeah,
it's time to do something one way or another. I'm a hold back on the energy. But I thank you for your time, Tavis. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
Kwame, thanks for the phone call. I deeply appreciate it. I think he's right about that, Ed, that Donald Trump has a penchant, a predilection for that matter, of ruining lives for sport, and now he's ruining the lives of the entire Comey family. Again, first firing his daughter, James Comey's daughter, that is Maureen, as a U.S. attorney in New York, involved in the Epstein and Sean Puffy Combs cases, and now the indictment last evening, of James Comey, the former FBI director. Ed Sanders is right. Not much love in our community for the FBI. And yet we have to balance that with this sacred principle that we ought not to have presidents who act as dictators, who move in authoritarian and fascist ways, to have enemies list, and they go after those enemies and then tell the arms of government, the apparatus of law enforcement, that they have control over it. Go after this dude, go after her, go after him, go after them. And government just moves in that way. I said it before, I've said it a second time, I'll say it a third time and leave it here. This is a slippery slope. It's James Comey today. It was Maureen Comey the day before. I'm telling you, if Donald Trump can find a way, and again, if this continues unabated, if nobody chin checks him in this moment, Obama is on that enemies list. And there are other black folk on the enemy. We've already seen, as Ed laid out earlier, Lisa Cook and Letitia James and Fonnie Willis and others who he's gone after, black women in particular. But Barack Obama is still on that enemies list, and he went in on Barack Obama in that UN speech. Clearly, Obama's inside his head. I'm telling you, you heard it here first on First Things First. That's going to happen. It is going to happen if Donald Trump has his way. I got 2 minutes left, Ed. I want to circle back to what I suggested earlier about the government shutdown that is looming. Donald Trump, as you know, canceled a meeting with Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer. You can't be serious about keeping government open, to my mind, if you're canceling meetings with Democratic leaders. And so it's almost as if Donald Trump is trying to goad them, to get them to shut down the government, to not give Republicans the votes they need to keep the government open. What's that about? How do you read that? Because that's my sense of it. You can't be canceling meetings if you want the government to stay open. You're not even trying to negotiate.
Yeah, and he's not, and it's totally consistent with his policy, right? This big, beautiful, bad, blonde, whatever bill you want to call this thing, is already gutting the government. The Doge efforts were there to gut the government. He's, advocated for abolishing whole departments like the Department of Education. He has no problem with the government shutting down. And, the conversation is not one that he's looking to have. The pain will be felt by the country. Yeah. And, ultimately, I think he feels like, that's what he was elected to do. And he's gonna stand by that. This is a petty man, right? Yeah. And just it is what it is.
Yep. So there are your two of your biggest stories of the day. James Comey indicted. We will see how that plays today and in the coming days. Former FBI director, and the administration has also gone after the George Soros Open Society Foundation. You recall that same Open Society Foundation just gave Gavin Newsom $10 million for his effort here on the Prop 50 fight. And so they are going after the Open Society Foundation, run again by the Soros family. So this enemies list continues to grow, and Donald Trump continues to show up in ways that show he has an outsized amount of power right about now. He is drunk with that power and getting away with it for the most part. Ed, thanks for your insights as always, man. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Tavis, appreciate you having me on. Thank you. I love the work you do.
Thank you, man. Love your work, and my honor to have this conversation with you today, sitting in for Dominique DePrimo. Speaking of Dominique, the next 2 hours are the best of First Things First. In the 7 o'clock hour, her conversation reprised with William Darity, Dr. William Darity, about reparations, given that it is Freedman Friday. And then in the 8 o'clock hour today, her conversation with Madison McFerrin, a great musical artist. You're listening to First Things First on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Alexandria Ikamoni with BIN News Now. President Trump says, quote, radical left rhetoric, end quote, is behind the deadly shooting at an ICE facility in Texas. The president went on to blast, quote, dumb people on the left, end quote, like Black Representative Jasmine Crockett of Texas for spreading out of control hate. One person died and 2 more are in critical condition after the shooter opened fire on the ICE facility. The Fed said that in one note, allegedly written by the gunman, said that ICE agents were collecting a, quote, dirty paycheck.
He hoped his actions would terrorize ICE and interfere with their work, which he called human trafficking.
The Trump administration is pulling $65 million in federal grants from New York City, Chicago, and Fairfax, Virginia magnet schools, affecting many kids, including many Black kids. They're accused of violating civil rights laws pertaining to transgender and diversity and equity programs. Get BIN News Now on the iHeartRadio app.
Do you really know what's in your tap water? LifeSource believes your water should support your health, not work against it. Upgrade your water with a LifeSource whole house water system during September's Double Dip promo. Call 800-WATER-99 or visit lifesourcewater.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers continue their ownership of the National League West Division. Their 8-0 win Thursday at Arizona secured their fourth straight division title and 12th in the last 13 years. Winning the title gives the Dodgers a first-round bye and home field advantage in their first playoff series. The Dodgers wrap up the regular season with a 3-game series at Seattle beginning tonight. Seattle won the American League West title. J.J. Redick will be the Lakers head coach for a while. The Lakers extended Redick's contract with a multi-year deal that will keep him as head coach beyond 2028. Redick signed a 4-year contract with the Lakers when he was hired in June of 2024. The Lakers had a pretty good season in Redick's first year as a head coach on any level. They won 50 games last season and finished third in the Western Conference. The Lakers opened training camp on Monday. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hello, KBLA delegation. Tavis Smiley here. On Saturday, October 25th, LA Trade Tech becomes the epicenter of ideas that matter. The Left Coast Forum is bringing together voices that challenge, inspire, and illuminate with keynote presentations from people like noted economist Richard Wolff, the man who breaks down capitalism in ways that make sense to working folk like you and me, and Dr. Cornel West will be there, the brilliant philosopher and activist who never stops fighting for justice and speaking truth to power and to the powerless for that matter. So this isn't just another conference. This is where ideas get tested, where the conversations that shape our future begin. Multiple plenary sessions, dynamic speakers, real talk about the issues that impact our communities, and then some good food and a live band. Saturday, October 25th, LA Trade Tech, Left Coast Forum. The event is free and open to the public, but you must register at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can also peep the plenary topics. The future belongs to those who show up and engage. So don't just think about change, be part of the conversation that creates it. The Left Coast Forum is brought to you by the LA Progressive, the Empowerment Congress, Community Coalition, Partnership for Growth LA, Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, LA Care Health Plan, United Teachers Los Angeles, Black Progressive Action Coalition, St. John's Community Health, the National Lawyers Guild, the Weingart Foundation, and more. Space is limited, so if I were you, I'd register right now at KBLA1580.com. Your voice matters, your presence matters. We'll see you there.
I need a dollar, that's what I need. Hey, hey. Well, I need a dollar, that's what I need. Hey, hey. Said I need a dollar, that's what I need. And if I share with you my story, would you share your dollar with me? Bad times are coming and I reap what I done sow. Hey, hey. Well, let me tell you something, all that glitters ain't gold. It's been a long old troublesome road, and I'm looking for somebody come and help me carry this load.
KBLA Talk 1580 or a few trillion. It's time for Freedman Friday. I'm excited. I'm not going to lie. We are welcoming in the Samuel Du Bois Cook Professor of Public Policy, African American Studies and Economics, and Director of the Samuel Du Bois Cook Center on Social Equity at Duke University. He served as chair of the African American Studies Department and founding director of the Research Network on Racial and Ethnic Inequality at Duke. He is an author, a scholar. Research focuses on inequality by race, class, and ethnicity. If I read this bio, we won't have time to talk because he's done so much and had such a huge impact in this field and others. Dr. William Darity Jr., welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Just one proviso. I am no longer the director of the Samuel Du Bois Cook Center at Duke, and I'm actually in the transition of making, hopefully, a move to Howard University.
Wow, that's amazing. Do you want to say why, or is it just something a natural professional transition?
Well, I've been at Duke for 25 years, and I've decided that it's time to retire from Duke, but I don't want to stop being engaged in research and advocacy. So Howard University appears to be offering me a wonderful opportunity to make a transition to working there.
Amazing. Well, thanks for that update. So we've been doing this Freedman Friday conversation for almost 2 years, a little every Friday, just trying to get ourselves up to date on the topic, the momentum, progress. And so it's great to have you on, but I almost don't know where to start. So I'm going to start with the thing that people most often associate with your scholarship, which is talking about the racial wealth gap and why that matters in terms of reparations, why it matters in terms of the conversation about cut the check.
Sure. Where would you like me to start? Would you like me to talk about the size of the gap initially?
Well, yeah, let's talk about the size of the gap and why that even is related to reparations.
Okay, so the size of the gap, based upon the most recent data we have from the Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finances, indicates that the average Black household has $1.15 million less in net worth or wealth than the average white family. This is a stunning differential. It has been growing over time, particularly accelerating as a gap from the 1950s to the present. So approximately 75 years or so, we've had a continued explosion in the difference between Black and white wealth. Wealth is so closely tied to so many aspects of well-being, including health, which is the emphasis of the article that we just had come out in Nature and Human Behavior, and in particular, the health of children. It also is a mechanism for households or families to buy their way into high amenity neighborhoods, to provide quality schooling for their children. If you're not satisfied with your neighborhood school and you're extremely wealthy or moderately wealthy, you will have the capacity to purchase private schooling for your kid. You can have your kid come out of college without holding any student debt. If there's an issue with the criminal legal system, you can purchase quality legal counsel to cope with it if you have sufficient wealth. In addition, it permits you with the opportunity to purchase or sustain a business. And in addition, let me mention that if you're wealthy, you can transfer the resources to your children and grandchildren, either after you die in the form of an inheritance or while you're still living in the form of a variety of gifts.
So when those of us who are not economists hear that the average white family or the average Black family has 1.15 million less in wealth, it makes it sound like the average white family are millionaires, and that certainly can't be true.
No, but 25% of white families have a net worth in excess of $1 million.
Really?
And that's true for only, 25%, 1 out of 4. And that's true for only 4% of Black families. So let's not be deceived by the idea that this wealth gap is driven by a handful of extraordinarily rich white billionaires.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there is a handful of extraordinarily rich white billionaires, but that's not the reason that average gap is so wide.
And so when we see it, very poor white people, which we have in this country, they're still part of a system where 25% have a net worth of a million.
So if you were to compare, the answer to your question is yes. If you were to compare whites in the lowest income quintile, the bottom 20% of income recipients, they still have substantially more wealth than black households who are in the same quintile. Black households in that bottom quintile have a median level of wealth somewhere in the vicinity of $0 to $100, while white households in that lowest quintile have a level of wealth closer to $12,000 to $15,000.
Wow.
So at all strata of the income distribution, there is a marked difference in the amount of wealth that households hold by race.
And I've heard you address the sort of stereotype that that's because we're lazy, cursed, or whatever the reasons people give, that is not tied to.
Well, we might be cursed.
I will not sign off on that. Dr. Darity, I will not sign off on curse. But I mean, basically lazy is the narrative. The reason it has nothing to do with Jim Crow or enslavement or subsequent harms. It has to do with the fact that we don't work hard enough or we don't save.
Yeah, well, as I just pointed out, if you look at any income quintile, there's a sharp difference in wealth between blacks and whites. So if we're working hard enough to generate those levels of earnings and income, but we still don't have the same level of wealth, I think that puts a lie to that claim. I'd also like to add that there is, once you control for income, there is no significant difference between black and white household savings rates. And in fact, in some income quintiles, the black savings rate is actually higher. And then furthermore, if you are to look at educational attainment, for many years, we had a situation in which white heads of households who had never finished high school had a higher level of wealth than black heads of households who had earned college degrees. That is no longer true in the 2022 data, but black heads of households still have less wealth than white heads of households. Black heads of households with college degrees still have less wealth than white heads of households who had finished high school but not gone any further. So, if you want to argue that people aren't working hard in the process of trying to attain greater educational achievement, maybe that's a position you could take. But to me, that process of getting more and more education is an indication of effort and motivation. And so that doesn't have a payoff in terms of closing the racial wealth gap.
So when you lay it out like that and we see this giant, massive cavern of a wealth gap, why is reparation the way to close that? Why is, how do you directly make that connection?
So the argument that I would make is that the wealth gap between blacks and whites is the best indicator of the cumulative intergenerational effects of white supremacy in the United States. And so if we are concerned about the status of individuals who are living now, not merely the status of our ancestors who were subjected to brutal enslavement, if we're concerned about the status of people living now, we need some kind of measure to calculate the size of reparations that captures the penalties that they are incurring in the present moment. And I'm absolutely convinced that the wealth gap is an excellent measure of that kind of penalty that's being faced by living Black Americans whose ancestors were enslaved in the United States.
William Darity Jr. is my guest. He's author of, among other things, From Here to Equality, Reparations for Black Americans in the 21st Century. We'll continue our conversation when we come forward. It's a Freedman Friday on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominic DePrima when we come forward.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicolai Corte. Let's preserve Black land stories before they're lost forever. I want to personally invite you to be a part of something historic. As journalist in residence for the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project, I've joined forces with powerhouse attorney and social justice champion George Fothery, the man who helped make history by delivering justice to the Bruce family in Manhattan Beach, securing the first known return of land unjustly taken from Black owners by a local government. That victory was monumental, but it was just the beginning. For generations, Black families have acquired land through grit, faith, and determination, only to lose it through violence, legal loopholes, forced sales, and systematic racism. What's been taken goes far beyond dirt and deeds. It's the erasure of wealth, identity, and legacy. That's why we've launched the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project, a national effort to collect, protect, and preserve the stories of Black land lost before they're buried, forgotten, or erased altogether. Because there's power in telling Black stories, there is resistance in remembering, and there's justice in being seen and heard. This is where you come in. We're inviting you to be a part of this historic Black narrative archive. If you or someone you know has experienced land loss, displacement, or forced property sales, your story deserves to be heard and remembered. Your story belongs in this archive. Your truth matters not just to your family, but to our collective future. Visit blacklandlost.org today. Fill out our simple intake form and add your voice to the National Archive of Remembrance, Resilience, and Reckoning. Let's make these stories live on, not in whispers, but on the record. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicolai Corte, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-550-9651. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-550-9651. That's 800-550-9651. Tax Relief Advocates, real solutions for real people.
The conversation continues right now with Dominic DePrima on First Things First.
We're talking with Dr. William Darity Jr., and we're talking reparations because it's Freedman Friday. We're discussing the wealth gap and how it ties to reparations. And the reason that I said that I wanted you to also speak on why you have emphasized the importance of cash reparations or monetary reparations is because we constantly hear, well, like the governor of California said after the release of the task force study, reparations is not just about a check. But when you talk about a wealth gap, that has to be part of it, right? That has to be a priority, does it not?
Yes, absolutely. And let me add, when people say reparations needs to be more than a check, let's cut the check and see what's still needed.
Yeah, that's a great formula.
Yeah. Also, I would like to add that it's important to go back to some of the atrocities that you referred to earlier to explain why the wealth gap exists. And I think we have to start with the period in the immediate aftermath of slavery when the freedmen were promised 40-acre land grants as restitution for their years of bondage. And it was a promise that was not kept. But at the same time, the federal government gave 160-acre land grants to 1.5 million white families in the Western territories of the United States as they completed their colonial settler project. And that's the beginning of the post-slavery racial wealth gap, the provision of substantial tracts of lands to white Americans and the denial of the freedmen of access to any form of restitution after their years of slavery. The consequence is that was the beginning of the inability of Black families to transfer significant resources across generations, while white families were given, through government policy, a foundation for substantial ability to transfer resources across generations. And so that's the fundamental case for the use of the racial wealth gap as the basis for the size of the reparations payments.
Yeah, and I note that you also point out in your book how once they move from giving out land to helping people get houses, the same pattern continues.
That's right.
So when you calculate, there's always, it's too expensive, it's too massive, but you look at specific ways that we would break down what is owed, and you've been very clear that you feel it should be on a federal level.
Yes, if we add up the total that would be due based upon the $1.15 million household or family gap, then that comes to approximately $400,000 per eligible recipient. There are about 40 million Black Americans whose ancestors were enslaved in the United States, out of a total of about 47 million Black people in the United States. So if you multiply 40 million times $400,000, that gives you a figure of $16 trillion. The combined budgets of all states and localities in the United States, so some 100,000 of them, is less than $5 trillion.
Wow.
So it's only the federal government that has the capacity to meet that bill, because unlike the states and localities, the federal government is not constrained in its spending by its tax revenue, because it's a sovereign issuer of currency. States and localities don't have their own currencies, and so the federal government really has no constraint on its spending except for the danger of inducing significant inflation. And in Kirsten Mullins and my book, From Here to Equality, in the final chapter, we talk about ways in which the spending can be conducted to mitigate the inflation danger. And so we're absolutely convinced that if you want to close the racial wealth gap through a scheme of direct payments to eligible recipients, the only way to do it is to have the federal government be the responsible spender.
And it sounds like, from what I was reading in your book, that you think that state and local and corporate and other institutional reparations programs could undermine a federal reparations initiative?
To the extent that they bear the label of reparations, when I so closely identify reparations with elimination of the racial wealth gap, we could end up in a situation where, even if we had a Congress that was receptive to comprehensive reparations, they would get told that, well, reparations has already been done in all of these communities around the United States and in several of the states around the country, so that there's no reason to do it. Even though, as a collective, those states and localities do not have the ability to close the racial wealth gap.
So does that mean that an Evanston or a California is potentially can create an obstacle to a federal manifestation of cut the check?
It certainly could. And I wish that they would call these programs or projects something else besides reparations.
Really?
I don't object to these kinds of projects. They can be beneficial, but they do not have the quality and character of a true reparations plan. So maybe they could call these racial equity initiatives. But I wish that the term reparations was not attached to these types of projects.
And what about the studies? I mean, the California Task Force has done a study that some suggest could be a replacement for HR 40, and that we could use that data to create a national kind of program.
Oh, absolutely. Especially the first half of that study, which is primarily a review of the historical atrocities that form the basis for a reparations claim. And that first half of the California report is not limited to California. It's actually a scan of the national history of racism. And so, yes, I mean, that could be essential in creating support for the national case. I would also add that New Jersey has a report that was done privately that also has valuable content that could go towards supporting the national case for reparations.
So does that mean HR 40 is obsolete?
I would say that there could be a legitimate basis for saying that it's important to have a commission in place that generates a report. And it could be a report that's based upon what's in the California report and what's in the New Jersey report, but generates a report that is brought before Congress with a set of recommendations for a comprehensive reparations plan. Unfortunately, HR 40 is not designed in such a way that it would produce a commission that would generate a report with the suitable characteristics. There are also some structural flaws with HR 40. It's not a particularly good piece of legislation. So I think if we were going to go in the direction of having a commission, a congressional commission, that was a prelude to a reparations plan, we would need a new piece of legislation for that commission.
So, okay, we only have a minute right here to news, traffic, and sports, but I'm interested, what is the next step? What is the way forward if HR 40 is not sufficient and we already have these studies from New Jersey and California that could be used as a basis for real reparations? What would the next step be?
I think that the next step must be the development of a national movement to support reparations and to make use of the materials that are already at hand to build that case. But we need some type of organizational momentum to put pressure on Congress through lobbying and petitioning, even in an environment where we won't necessarily be very optimistic about the congressional response, but we've got to begin that process, and we have to elect a different breed of individuals to serve in Congress, to have an opportunity to have genuine restitution.
I think we're going to have to do that for more than just reparations. We're talking with Dr. William Darity Jr. I'm Dominique DePrima, and this right here is KBLA Talk 1580.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Alexandria Ikamoni with BIN News Now. Local community groups in Dallas held a vigil for the 3 detainees shot during this week's attack at an ICE office. Tony Gonzalez, regional commander of the Brown Berets, which is an organization for civil rights of Mexican Americans, is calling for more information and resources for the victims.
Because there's a victim right here, right now that, needs our support.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams, a black man, says he has not been bribed to drop out of the mayoral race. It comes as a Republican nominee alleges former Governor Andrew Cuomo has offered him money to leave the four-way race. President Trump is announcing new tariffs on multiple products that will take effect October 1st. Trump said on Truth Social that 100% tariffs on pharmaceuticals will take effect unless drug makers are building U.S. factories. Get BIN News Now on demand on the iHeartRadio app.
Do you really know what's in your tap water? LifeSource believes your water should support your health, not work against it. Upgrade your water with a LifeSource whole house water system during September's Double Dip promo. Call 800-WATER-99 or visit LifeSourceWater.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers continue their ownership of the National League West Division. Their 8-0 win Thursday at Arizona secured their fourth straight division title and 12th in the last 13 years. Winning the title gives the Dodgers a first-round bye and home field advantage in their first playoff series. The Dodgers wrap up the regular season with a 3-game series at Seattle beginning tonight. Seattle won the American League West title. J.J. Redick will be the Lakers head coach for a while. The Lakers extended Redick's contract with a multi-year deal that will keep him as head coach beyond 2028. Redick signed a 4-year contract with the Lakers when he was hired in June of 2024. The Lakers had a pretty good season in Redick's first year as a head coach on any level. They won 50 games last season and finished third in the Western Conference. The Lakers opened training camp on Monday. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Founded in Los Angeles in 1986, litigation powerhouse Quinn Emanuel has deep roots in the Los Angeles community. Since 2007, we have litigated some of the largest fires on the West Coast. We are proud to be the only AmLaw 100 firm in the country to represent wildfire victims, giving affected individuals, families, and businesses the same focus and individualized attention we devote to our Fortune 500 clients. BTI Consulting has repeatedly recognized Quinn Emanuel as among the 4 law firms in-house counsel least likely to oppose in any litigation, and we are often deemed the most feared. And after securing over $80 billion for our clients in various matters firm-wide, we understand why. If you have been affected by the recent wildfires in Altadena and the Palisades and would like to discuss your situation further, please contact wildfire support at QuinnEmanuel.com or call us at 213-443-3050. Quinn Emanuel is proud to sponsor Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Hey, KBLA 1580 delegation, your health matters to us. We know that information is power, especially when it comes to prevention and treatment. That's why we're proud to introduce the brand new KBLA Health and Wellness Hub. This online space is built just for you, connecting our community to trusted health resources, culturally relevant care, and even access to diverse clinical trials and emerging therapies. Whether you're looking for information on common conditions, mental health support, or just want to stay on top of your wellness journey, we got you. And the best part, it's all on our website at KBLA1580.com. Accessible, empowering, community-focused. So just go to KBLA1580.com and click on the Health and Wellness Hub icon, because knowledge is power and your health is everything. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks Vapor Stick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks Vapors in an easy-to-apply stick, and it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks Vapo Stick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks Vapors when you need more comfort for yourself. Use as directed.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Severe from Vicks.
Sinex Severe Nasal Spray.
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Severe instantly relieves nasal congestion and works 6 times faster than nasal decongestant tablets. The 12 hours of relief allow you to get back to the moments that matter without congestion.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Try Sinex Severe from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Find a righteous rage and don't be afraid to say what you see. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
And we're doing our Freedman Friday thing. We do that every Friday at this time. We're talking with William A. Darity Jr., who is making a move to Howard. That's amazing. He's an author and scholar and economist and much, much more. Dr. Darity, when you talk about so many of the specifics of a reparations plan or program are laid out in your book. How to mitigate inflation, how to deal with arguments against it, how to calculate the dollar amounts, how to figure out who's eligible. I mean, you go in detail about a lot of this stuff that people are saying are the reasons why reparations are impossible or a fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the central motivations for us doing the book. One of our colleagues, Alfred Brophy, a law professor, had written some 15 years ago, something that is often missing from reparations talk is a specific plan for repairing past tragedies. And Kirsten Mullen and I were convinced that it's important to provide a specific plan so that people cannot make the claim that something that is morally right can't be done because we don't know how to do it.
Yeah. And we've given reparations, as Molly Bell points out in the chat, to lots of other people and groups, including groups that for which the United States has no direct culpability in the harm.
That's right. That would include the payments that were made to the families that lost loved ones in the course of the 9/11 attacks. That would include payments that the U.S. government is making to victims of the Holocaust. That would include payments that are being made to the folks who were held hostage in Iran. And that's a particularly striking example because those individuals are being paid $10,000 per day of captivity, which comes to a total of approximately $4.4 million per person.
Wow. That is a great example. When you speak on inflation, and this is one of the things, well, this would throw our economy, into chaos, or I did not, from some white folks, I didn't hold slaves, or from some immigrants, I wasn't even here. Why should I be paying for your reparations? I love that you address these two things in the book specifically.
Yeah, and I think that one of the most important things for people to consider is that we have created a problem by frequently using the phrase slavery reparations. Because from our perspective, the reason for reparations is to correct the disadvantages that have been imposed across the generations on the living descendants of the persons who were enslaved. We are not in a position to provide restitution for our ancestors, which would probably be amounts of money that would be magnitudes greater than the $16 trillion figure. But we are not in a position to compensate them. They are no longer here. But the consequences of their enslavement and the policies that the U.S. government pursued after slavery ended are consequences that are held by the living descendants. And that's the basis for compensation.
Yeah, it's so well said. And I love that you call out the term taxpayer dollars.
Oh, yeah. That's a phrase I hate. Federal spending is not tied to taxpayer dollars, not in the same way that state and local spending.
I've had a lot of people push back on me, Dr. Darity, when I say it's a debt. It's not charity. It's not welfare. It's a debt. And the pushback comes from the fact that, at least sometimes, that they feel the 40 acres or 40 acres and a mule was not a contract, it was a promise, or that it was not ever meant to be applied to all veterans of enslavement or their, people impacted by this institution in this country.
So the initial commitment was embodied in General Sherman's Special Field Order number 15, where he designated, and people mistakenly say he designated 400,000 acres of land along the Atlantic coast. No, it was 5.3 million acres of land. And Kirsten Mullen and I are working on a paper now where we're trying to correct the record on that. What's true about 400,000 acres is that's the amount of land that was settled by 40,000 of the freedmen before President Andrew Johnson, probably the worst president the United States ever had, although there are some competitors. Before Andrew Johnson stopped the program. So there was a commitment that was made. It was reversed by the president who succeeded Abraham Lincoln after his assassination. In addition, there were provisions in the first Freedmen's Bureau Act for the distribution of land to the formerly enslaved, and that was a legal commitment that was never executed. And so I think that there's strong documentation that such a commitment was made, and it was made as a contractual arrangement, but the contract was not met.
And thus the premise that it is a debt and not a charitable initiative, even though we are not just talking about enslavement, we're talking about the subsequent harms.
That's right. And you can have a debt that's attributable to the fact that you have committed an atrocity against a community, a grievous injustice, even if there was no prior contractual event that was violated. So, but in this case, we meet both conditions.
Dr. Darity, I've said a lot, and maybe I'm wrong. It sounds like you don't believe this from what I'm reading of your writing. I've said public opinion polls show that white folks don't support cash payments for reparations. And I've said that I don't care what public opinion polls say. If you owe me money, you owe me money. You got to pay it. It doesn't matter if it's popular or if you want to. But I think you make the case that we have to change public opinion in order to move Congress. And we're going to need Congress. We're going to need actually legislation to make this happen.
Yes, that's right. And there are some modest grounds for optimism, even though we're in what I would view as a very dark moment.
Yeah.
But the modest grounds for optimism are based on some of the survey data that we have. In the year 2000, a study that was conducted by a couple of scholars at the University of Chicago, Michael Dawson and Ravana Popov, a survey that they conducted at the national level, they found that only 4% of white Americans endorsed monetary payments as reparations for Black Americans. By 2019 or so, that figure had risen to about 18%. And then in the aftermath of the George Floyd year, that figure actually rose by the beginning of January 2024, close to 30%.
Yeah, so that's now, which is pretty phenomenal in a short time.
That's fantastic. Over the course of 25 years, that's a major sea change in attitude. And so that opens the question as to whether or not that can continue, whether we can build on that base to develop the full range of support that's needed for a comprehensive reparations plan to be passed. I would argue that you probably do not necessarily need a majority of white Americans to support this, to make reparations something that's politically feasible, but you do have to be in the vicinity of 45% of them. And that's the target. I must add, as a qualifier, that, of course, during the year in which Trump gets elected president, the degree of support for monetary payments as reparations has dropped off a bit. And so the percentage among whites is now closer to 24%.
Wow, that's sad. But, sea change can happen and does happen quickly sometimes. I used to talk about reparations with the late Dick Gregory back in the 1990s on the radio. And he always said that it was about normalization and people accepting it. And so it sounds like you agree with that. And so part of our job has to be talking about it and educating people and changing folks' perceptions and attitudes.
Yes, and helping people recognize that it is something that is normally and frequently done, and posing the question as to why it has never been done for Black American descendants of U.S. slavery.
Talking to Dr. William Darity, when we continue this conversation, I want to look at eligibility. You are very specific about this in your book, From Here to Equality, and it has been a bit of a controversy or stumbling block for some jurisdictions and some activist circles. We'll look at that next on a Freedman Friday, KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
September is World Alzheimer's Month, a time to shine a light on a public health crisis that deeply impacts Black families. 1 in 5 Black adults ages 70 and older is living with Alzheimer's disease, or AD, and the risk is twice as high compared to white adults. But AD isn't just forgetting a name or losing track of time. Signs of early AD could be repeating questions, missing appointments, or struggling with bills and daily tasks. These things aren't a normal part of aging. Here's the good news. Treatments are available that may help if AD is diagnosed early. If you notice changes in memory or daily routines, whether in yourself or a loved one, don't wait. Early diagnosis and intervention are key to managing AD effectively. To learn more about AD and a potential treatment option, visit treatalsearly.com. That's treatalzearly.com to learn more about the signs and symptoms and a potential treatment option. This message is brought to you by AZI.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Lena Bloom for the Bail Project. Imagine you're stuck in a jail cell and you can't afford bail and someone offers you a way out. Just plead guilty and you can go home and kiss your kids goodnight. What do? What thousands have. You plead guilty whether you are or not. Cash bail makes poverty a crime. That's why the Bail Project helps those who can't afford it while fighting to end cash bail, because freedom should be free.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
My ride smells just right, just right, just right, just right. Y'all gotta try that Febreze car. Just right, just right, just right. Yeah. La 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 la. Pick up to 40 days of consistency. All over Febreze car clips right on your bed. You know my car's my happy place. Keep that smile on my face when it smells just right. just right, yeah. Breathe happy Febreze, la 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 la.
We're not for everybody, but we're for everybody. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
We're talking with Dr. William Darity. He's published or edited more than 13 books, published more than 300 articles in professional outlets, and the latest, From Here to Equality, Reparations for Black Americans in the 21st Century, is a must read. So many of the things we talk about on these Freedman Friday segments are outlined here. And I thought I knew about Callie House. I thought I knew about Queen Mother Moore. But when I read the book, I found out a lot of things that I did not know, which were very informative and interesting. So you go step by step, really, in helping us understand reparations, its history, and where we need to go, where you believe we need to go.
Yeah. Yes, I think that was one of the other important objectives of the book, besides actually developing a plan.
So a part of any plan has to be eligibility, and that's been a point of contention. You named two criteria. It seems like people say it's either lineage or it's legacy, meaning ethnicity. And then there's some other theories that are somewhere in between. Harm, which seems similar to lineage. Talk to me about how you see the eligibility question. You mentioned 40 million Black Americans who would probably be eligible out of 47 million present in the country at this time.
Yes. So the 40 million that I have in mind would be individuals who would have to meet two standards. The first is what you've referred to already as a lineage standard. From the treatment that Kirsten Mullen and I pursue and From Here to Equality, we argue that the lineage standard has to be met by an individual demonstrating that they have at least one ancestor who was enslaved in the United States. But we also have a second condition, which we call the identity standard. And this means that an individual would have to show that for at least 12 years before the onset of a reparations plan or the adoption of a study commission for reparations, an individual would have had to have self-identified. Excuse me.
Bless you.
I'm sorry. Would have had to have self-identified as Black, Negro, African American, or Afro American. So we tie two conditions together. We tie a lineage standard and an identity standard together. The lineage standard exists because we want to make sure that the individuals who receive reparations have a direct connection to the history of chattel slavery in the United States. But also we have the identity standard because we know that there are individuals who are living as white who also have ancestral connections to individuals who were subjected to chattel slavery in the United States, and we don't think that they should be eligible for reparations. I will only add that the children of persons who meet those standards will also be eligible.
So is there a danger that identity standard could further this idea that lineage is a proxy for race and make this legally untenable?
Well, let me say this. In the development of the plan that we had in mind, we were trying to design what we viewed as an ideal plan. And we were not preempting ourselves by any kind of judicial judgments that might be made. But let me add that in the plan, one of the important steps is that any Congress that adopts a comprehensive reparations program must start with an acknowledgement of national responsibility for the harm. That, I believe, will meet at least the existing strict scrutiny standards that the court has. If the party that is making the act of restitution claims full responsibility for the conditions that justified the act of restitution, then that meets the strict scrutiny standard. And, unless of course the court alters the strict scrutiny standard, which they could do, since everything's for they do.
Especially this court, right?
Yeah. But we've also said that any Congress that was willing to commit itself to passing a reparations program also must be committed to stacking the court.
Do we need another Freedmen's Bureau? Do we need? Was the Freedmen's Bureau effective? Do we need another one? Should we have them at the state level? Should we have one at the federal level?
In our plan, we actually proposed that there should be a bureau that is responsible for executing and supervising the program. And if you wanted to call it a new Freedmen's Bureau, we'd be perfectly happy. We also think that there needs to be a body that monitors the effectiveness of the program, that consists of individuals who are elected by the eligible recipients of reparations.
And then finally, well, there's a million more questions, but with the time we have, wouldn't a federal reparations benefit everybody? I mean, it seems like a massive economic stimulus if measures are taken to avoid inflationary impact.
Well, I think that's a reason why we have not designed a plan where you are essentially taking money out of white pockets and transferring it to black pockets. We are trying to raise the black level of wealth so that it matches the average level that whites possess without extracting any existing wealth from white households. It's possible that there could be other beneficial effects. It may not be the case, but we don't think that that's a reason for not doing something that should have been done 160 years ago.
We've got 60 seconds here, Dr. Darity. What would you like to leave us with?
Just that this is a struggle, and we need to join and engage in it. And we need to engage in it even if the odds still appear to be long.
It's very well said. From Here to Equality, Reparations for Black Americans in the 21st Century does provide a blueprint. And you certainly shout out at the end a lot of folks who are doing just what you're talking about in the struggle, working on it. And you seem to be in support of many, many different iterations of activism around this.
Well, thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for being part of our Freedman Friday.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Alexandria Ikamoni with BIN News Now. Local community groups in Dallas held a vigil for the 3 detainees shot during this week's attack at an ICE office. Tony Gonzalez, regional commander of the Brown Berets, which is an organization for civil rights of Mexican Americans, is calling for more information and resources for the victims.
Because there's a victim right here, right now that, needs our support.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams, a Black man, says he has not been bribed to drop out of the mayoral race. It comes as a Republican nominee alleges former Governor Andrew Cuomo has offered him money to leave the 4-way race. President Trump is announcing new tariffs on multiple products that will take effect October 1st. Trump said on Truth Social that 100% tariffs on pharmaceuticals will take effect unless drug makers are building U.S. factories. Get BIN News Now on demand on the iHeartRadio app.
Do you really know what's in your tap water? LifeSource believes your water should support your health, not work against it. Upgrade your water with a LifeSource whole house water system during September's Double Dip promo. Call 800-WATER-99 or visit LifeSourceWater.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers continued their ownership of the National League West Division. Their 8-0 win Thursday at Arizona secured their 4th straight division title and 12th in the last 13 years. Winning the title gives the Dodgers a first-round bye and home field advantage in their first playoff series. The Dodgers wrap up the regular season with a 3-game series at Seattle beginning tonight. Seattle won the American League West title. J.J. Redick will be the Lakers head coach for a while. The Lakers extended Redick's contract with a multi-year deal that will keep him as head coach beyond 2028. Redick signed a 4-year contract with the Lakers when he was hired in June of 2024. The Lakers had a pretty good season in Redick's first year as a head coach on any level. They won 50 games last season and finished third in the Western Conference. The Lakers opened training camp on Monday. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hello, KBLA delegation. Tavis Smiley here. On Saturday, October 25th, LA Trade Tech becomes the epicenter of ideas that matter. The Left Coast Forum is bringing together voices that challenge, inspire, and illuminate with keynote presentations from people like noted economist Richard Wolff, the man who breaks down capitalism in ways that make sense to working folk like you and me, and Dr. Cornel West will be there, the brilliant philosopher and activist who never stops fighting for justice and speaking truth to power and to the powerless for that matter. So this isn't just another conference. This is where ideas get tested, where the conversations that shape our future begin. Multiple plenary sessions, dynamic speakers, real talk about the issues that impact our communities, and then some good food and a live band. Saturday, October 25th, LA Trade Tech, Left Coast Forum. The event is free and open to the public, but you must register at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can also peep the plenary topics. The future belongs to those who show up and engage. So don't just think about change, be part of the conversation that creates it. The Left Coast Forum is brought to you by the LA Progressive, the Empowerment Congress, Community Coalition, Partnership for Growth LA, Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, LA Care Health Plan, United Teachers Los Angeles, Black Progressive Action Coalition, St. John's Community Health, the National Lawyers Guild, the Weingart Foundation, and more. Space is limited, so if I were you, I'd register right now at KBLA1580.com. Your voice matters, your presence matters. We'll see you there.
We were supposed to get married today. Instead, I'm here all alone in a home with no one to call my own. Got me wondering, did I make a mistake in choosing who to say I do to? 'Cause I guess I don't. I guess I don't. I guess I don't.
KBLA Talk 1580. That's Madison McFerrin. That's one of the singles. Hi, welcome. Thank you. Great to have you back in studio.
I appreciate it.
You look amazing. You look glowy and vibrant and happy.
That's good because it's much earlier than I'm usually up.
Yeah, you're up radiating joy even though you're not a morning person?
Yes,
Is that what you're
totally.
saying?
That's the only option.
Yeah. Well, so was that the first single off
That was
the
the
new
second single.
off Scorpio, which
Mhm.
is your new album, which is lovely.
Thank you so much.
That song is so I guess I don't.
I guess it's a little spicy.
It's spicy, but I also, I'm really appreciating your songwriting there. Let's see, who I say I do to, that whatever that bars. You got some bars.
Got me wondering if I made a mistake in saying who, but in choosing who to say I do to, because I guess I don't.
Because I guess I don't. Bars.
I definitely felt that way when I wrote it.
Yeah.
When I write music, I always write the music first, the chords, and then I write the melody, and then the lyrics come last.
Really?
Yeah. And so I remember I was just writing it, and because I guess I don't really, it just came out, and I remember being like, "Woo, yes."
Yeah.
I felt it.
Yeah. That's interesting. The music comes first.
Mm-hmm. Always.
The melody next and then the words.
Mhm.
Is it a feeling that comes with it? Like you kind of knew you were heading towards I Don't, or it just comes out in phases and you accept it as it flows out?
Well, actually, interestingly enough, I Don't is a little bit different in the sense that I wrote that first line first. The "we were supposed to get married today" kind of just happened. I was walking into my house, and it was like 2 days before we were supposed to get married.
So this is a true story.
Yeah, this is a true
Okay.
story. And all of a sudden, it was one of those moments where I was like, I got to catch that, you know? And so then I went into the studio and like figured things out around it. But so that's one of the few times where something like that happens, where like the melody and the lyric just like come together.
It was a whole thing.
It was a whole thing. That's how a lot of this album was written, though. It was very much just an energy flow of like all of the things that I clearly felt but had been restricted and pent up in my body, and then they just like flew out of me. This is the fastest I've ever written music. It just happened.
So when you wrote I Don't, had you already made that decision personally not to get married, or
Pretty
did the song
much.
tell you what was about to not happen?
Pretty much. It took about 5 months for us to actually break up. And in that time, I had known that the relationship wasn't good for a long time. But then in 2023, early in the year, there were a couple things that were like very glaring things from the universe being like, girl, hello, gotta go. And then with the final straw, it was such a light switch of sorts. But my ex was, presumably still is, somebody who, when he finds a task, he like really tries to go after it. And of course, it was one of those things where it was like, once he saw that I was really ready to bounce, he was like, let me change in all these ways. And then it was too little too late, which is the story. But he works really hard. So I had like convinced myself for a few months, like, okay, maybe we can work this out.
Maybe I do.
Right. Well, because we had been together for 8 years. You know,
Wow.
it's like, that's a lot of time. We were engaged, clearly. That's what this song is about.
Yeah, that's
You know?
clearly what the song is
So
about.
it's like you put in that time and that effort, and you really want to see that through. And I started writing this, I guess, like 3 weeks before I officially ended it. We were doing a like trial separation. He was staying in Chicago while I would be in LA, and vice versa. But I knew.
You stay on the road.
Yeah, this last
you work.
Yes, I do. 2024 was my least amount of touring in a minute.
Okay.
Well, I would say from like mid 2024 on to now. But I'm about to go on tour again in October. Come to the Scorpio tour in a city near you.
Yeah, well, if you follow Mad McFerrin, on Instagram or Twitter, you'll know.
Yes,
because you do a great job of keeping us informed. Where
I
you're
do
gonna
my
be.
best. But yeah, I was on the road a lot. I ended the relationship while I was on tour.
Wow.
And I was like, I got
drama much.
Whew,
Well, you
man.
are a Scorpio.
I am a Scorpio.
Y'all do. I mean,
I'm a Scorpio stellium as well, which means I'm extra Scorpio.
It's Scorpio. Yeah,
You have 3 or more planets in a sign.
Yeah,
so-
like my bonus daughter, she has 5. Okay,
yeah.
you guys are very intellectual,
Mhm.
very intense,
Mhm.
very dedicated,
Mhm.
and I think the stereotype is true. Very sexy.
Yes, lean
And
into
you
it.
lean into that.
Why not?
Yeah. Well, yeah, right. You can't.
As my former voice teacher, Donna McElroy, told me, use it while you do's it.
So you ended the relationship on the road and kept touring,
Mhm.
and then finished the album, and then
Yeah, pretty much. So funny enough, I had spent already. That was a song that was produced by Andrew Lappin, who also produced "Please Don't Leave Me Now" on my debut album, and we made those songs at the same time.
Ever so slightly dark pieces of the
Right.
Madison McFerrin
Lord.
catalog.
Yeah. But we had made that song at the same time. I had written it and I'd sent it and I'd played it for him on the piano when we were in the studio, and he was like, please let me make something to that.
Ah.
And so we made it at that same time, but it didn't fit sonically. with the last record, but I knew I wanted to hold on to it. It was such a good song. And so then when I started writing this music for Scorpio, I was like, oh, it belongs in here.
That's why I'm laughing. That was like the preview, the foreshadowing, right? The song was the foreshadowing.
Totally.
Of what was to come. Yeah.
But I wrote the end. That was the first song outside of Spent, which Andrew Lappin actually co-produced as well on the record. But I started writing that while we were still together.
Yeah.
I wrote the first verse and first chorus while we were still together, and then kind of like set it aside, and then we broke up and I finished it.
Okay. That song reminds me of one of the things that struck me in this album, even more than your last one, is that I know Geminis have this reputation for having all these different personalities or personas, but I feel like you do as an artist.
Well, I am a Gemini rising.
See, there it is. There it is. There it is. I knew there was something going on because I listened to it and there's at least 4, possibly 5 Madison McFerrin characters. You don't call them characters. They're aspects of you, I guess. I mean, where your voice sounds different, your attitude sounds different, even the musicality is varying.
I mean, I'm just making music and letting it happen. I think it was Michael who said something about like songs are like in the ether and you got to grab it because Prince might get it or something else like that, and that's really what it feels like. So I wasn't doing anything other than writing music that felt right and sounded good to me, which is kind of what I try and do in general when I write music. But it was very much, like I said, this is the fastest I've ever made, produced, put out music. And a lot of it was just because it was just like flowing out of me. Like I wrote all of the songs with the exception of Spent having been done since 2022, I suppose. I wrote all of the songs in like a 4-month period. Like it just like happened. So those different parts of me, that's literally me going through the stages of grief. That's me processing my breakup. This whole album is me processing that breakup. 8 years is a long time. It also was not a nice relationship. So it's a lot of me just coming terms with what I had gone through. Why did I go through it? And I know that this music is instrumental in my being able to like shed this grief. I mean, things still come up every once in a while. 8 years is a long time. Like that doesn't just leave you, but I definitely feel like this was my therapy in addition to biweekly therapy.
Actual therapy. But you're so transparent, Madison. I mean, a lot of celebs and I know you're an independent artist and a Bay Area woman and all that. So you have a different maybe aesthetic or a different morality, I don't know, but you're so transparent. You like, people try to hide. They don't want to talk about their private life, or they want to separate the music from real life.
No, I mean, there still definitely is a line. Y'all don't know everything about me.
I'm sure we well, you're a Scorpio. Y'all are also famous for secrets.
Yeah, being very mysterious.
Yes.
But I'm an artist, and like I said, this is how I process my emotions, so I don't really know how to do anything else. This isn't me trying to be like, oh, let me air my dirty laundry. It's literally just like, hey, like I wrote this music that I really love. Like I love this music so much. I'm so proud of it. I think the album is amazing.
It is.
And while I was making it, I kept saying and continue to say, I believe that I went through what I went through in my relationship because I was supposed to create a piece of art that's going to change my life. Like that was its purpose. This art was the purpose of that relationship. And, obviously many other lessons that come with that. But I'm supposed to write this music and then just like keep it to myself and then just I worried about that man's emotions for way too many years. I don't care now. This doesn't actually have to do with him anymore. This is about me.
It's your artistry.
And like, if you don't want to have songs written about you that paint you in a negative light, don't do negative things,
or don't date a songwriter.
Right.
There's another option.
That's the other thing. It's like, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed
to
do?
Date a mime or something.
Right.
Madison McFerrin is my guest. Scorpio is the new project. It's full of great songs. We'll hear some of them now, and we get to talk with her about them. And I do have some questions.
Yeah.
That's my job, of course. But I'm excited because she's here. She is an artist who I really, really enjoy. And if you haven't heard the new one or the last one, hey, they're available now wherever you get your music.
Mm-hmm.
Continuing the conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to here with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicolai Corte. Let's preserve Black land stories before they're lost forever. I want to personally invite you to be a part of something historic. As journalist in residence for the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project, I've joined forces with powerhouse attorney and social justice champion George Fothery, the man who helped make history by delivering justice to the Bruce family in Manhattan Beach, securing the first known return of land unjustly taken from Black owners by a local government. That victory was monumental, but it was just the beginning. For generations, Black families have acquired land through grit, faith, and determination, only to lose it through violence, legal loopholes, forced sales, and systematic racism. What's been taken goes far beyond dirt and deeds. It's the erasure of wealth, identity, and legacy. That's why we've launched the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project, a national effort to collect, protect, and preserve the stories of Black land lost before they're buried, forgotten, or erased altogether. Because there's power in telling Black stories, there is resistance in remembering, and there's justice in being seen and heard. This is where you come in. We're inviting you to be a part of this historic Black narrative archive. If you or someone you know has experienced land loss, displacement, or forced property sales, your story deserves to be heard and remembered. Your story belongs in this archive. Your truth matters not just to your family, but to our collective future. Visit blacklandlost.org today. Fill out our simple intake form and add your voice to the National Archive of Remembrance, Resilience, and Reckoning. Let's make these stories live on, not in whispers, but on the record. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicolai Corte, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-550-9651. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-550-9651. That's 800-550-9651. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Is it hard to keep me out your thoughts? Distracting from your plots, you can't afford to spend the time. But I can tell you wanna know me well. Come fall under my spell, and I'll make sure you're satisfied. So what's it like on the other side? Told you I could always change your mind. And ain't it nice if you say...
That's from Scorpio. Ain't it nice? That was the first single. That was the first single. Outro that. What are we hearing right here?
This is a song co-produced by jazz phenom Julius Rodriguez and his co-producer Maddie St. John. We wrote it in April of last year. It was one of the last songs that was on Scorpio, and it's the only song on Scorpio that I did not write on the piano.
Really?
Yes. Everything else I wrote on the piano. This one, Julius is a friend and has played with me. He was playing keys with me at the Zebulon show that you came to.
Yeah, that me and Dr. Abdullah came to.
But he like literally plays every single instrument and is an incredible musician. Definitely check out his music if you haven't already. But he asked me to come through to the studio, and they had this beat. It was there were arrangement wise, it was a little bit different. But again, this was one of those things. I wrote the melody and lyrics in like 30 minutes. Like it just like happened because it was so funky. And then when I had this demo afterwards, I ran it into the ground. I probably played it like 100 times.
It's a great song.
In one day. It's so fun. And this is actually the song that caught Tyler, the Creator's attention, and he posted it in his story.
Oh, wow. That must have been exciting.
It was very exciting. Very exciting.
I love how, again, you're transparent about the career stuff too, and you do have you are on one of his songs.
Yes, that was just released on his new album, Don't Have the Glass,
in which we're going to play, Miles. Right? We're going to find.
It's called "Don't You Worry, Baby."
Yeah, collab with Madison McFerrin and Tyler, the Creator, and you know, since I've last seen you, you've been touring. Mm-hmm. You've dropped this album. You got out of a 8-year relationship into a new relationship now. Mm-hmm. Seemed
that was not
very
expected.
happy. That went Instagram official.
Oh my goodness! It happened so fast. We met at DJ Jazzy Jeff's house at his playlist retreat, which I think is a very cool story. And it's a 4-day retreat, and by the end of the 4 days, we were an item. It was I've never felt anything like it. As soon as we connected, I remember after our first conversation, I walked away being like, that was weird because it was so effortless. But he's really my best friend in the whole world. And the way that life works is really crazy. Because especially, you know, I'm 33 years old. I was 31 when I ended the last relationship. And, you know, you're thinking about kids, you're thinking about marriage. And a lot of me was scared to leave at that point in my life because I'm just delaying things further that I want for myself and for my future. And then the universe was like, 11 months later was like, nope, here's your person that you're going to spend the rest of your life with.
Wow. That's a great feeling.
No, it is a wonderful feeling. It really gives me faith in love in general. It has healed my heart in all these ways that I did not even know possible. Love of my life. He's also fine as hell, and I love that for me.
I love that for you too. And you guys look amazing together.
We do.
Yeah.
He's my best friend.
Aww.
Jossie. Hi, Jossie. I love you.
Hi, Jossie. She loves you. and so is that I know obviously that has to also influence your writing and your performing.
Funny enough, I have not written anything yet. I'm there are some people who they write all the time.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those people. I have these moments of bam, 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 bam. And then, being completely independent, I have to do all this stuff myself, so it's that's a job in itself. Social media is a job.
I mean, there's a bunch of jobs,
yeah,
right? Your marketing,
so
social
jobs.
Media, promotions.
Right. And so,
managing your tours, you're your own road manager.
Exactly. My ex was my manager. So when we broke up, I managed myself from August of 2023 because he stopped before we officially broke up, and managed myself until January of this year. So all the stuff that stuff that you're still seeing happening is because of stuff that I put in place, like the Tiny Desk. I got that myself.
Congrats on that.
Thank you so
much. That
was
a really nice performance.
It was very fun. I kind of blacked out a little bit, but from what I recall, it was really
well, you were blacking out while singing, dancing, and performing.
Right.
And doing amazing,
it's a tough gig.
Interstitial. Is it really harder than it looks?
It's much harder than it looks. First of all, that wide angle lens is doing work because that desk is tiny. The fact I had 7 people in my band, not including myself, and it's packed. So the fact that people have 14 piece, that's why they're always spilling out into the sides because there's literally no room at all.
Wow.
But the main thing that I don't think people know about it is that the microphones are just for the video. They're not amplified in the room at
Oh,
all.
no.
And there's no vocal monitors. So
What?
the band has to play quiet enough to hear the
That's
musicians.
crazy.
And also,
how can you
our
sing without
singers.
vocal monitors?
You just do it.
Go back to church?
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I know you've done like the doo-wop, that you've done the harmonizing and stuff, so maybe that means you're better at it.
Well, no,
I
it's
don't-
it's a thing of like, it definitely is a skill. It's a different type of singing to project in that way, because there's an audience too. There were like 50 people in the room or something. So if you were just concerned about the cameras, I wouldn't have to project as much necessarily, but I want to give the people a good show. And also, like I said, the band has to hear the vocalists.
Right.
So they have to play quiet enough for that. And thankfully, like, I got the heads up about that. So we were rehearsing. I didn't realize it was no vocal monitors. I thought it was just like really low, or no vocal amplification. So that is a different type of singing, but your girl is a professional.
Yay.
And has been trained. So I did what I had to do. And I think it went really well.
Yeah,
but it's a
you
tough
got,
gig.
You got great reviews. I didn't realize it was tough. It seems so free and cute
Right.
and fun.
I mean, that's even when like the whole Amory thing was happening. I was like, she had a huge band and like clearly could not hear herself. Like, that's just like not, you know, it's like she
yeah,
had,
she
like,
took a lot
two
of criticism
percussionists,
for
you
that
know?
performance.
But people
And-
don't realize how tough it is.
Yeah, I guess not. Well, you worked it out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Shout out to my band.
And it's hilarious that you think you blacked out, because it seemed like you were really present. You know, just the way you were talking
I was.
between songs.
I just mean
and
like
stuff.
it happens so fast.
Yeah.
You know, and like we had been rehearsing for hours and hours and hours. And so then it's like, it's one of those moments where all of a sudden it's just like, boom, and it's done. And you're like, whoa, what?
Yeah.
You come to and you're like, huh?
It's interesting because you are an independent artist. Would you say independent by choice?
Yes.
Why?
Well, I will say, you know, I grew up in it with an interesting perspective where, you know, my dad is of the music era where like you really were just the artist and A&R.
Bobby McFerrin, your dad.
Yes, an A&R finds you, and like then the label does everything, you
Right.
know. And then I have my brother Taylor, who's 10 and a half years older than me, who had a different bit of experience, but not that much different. And then when I was coming into the industry was really when being independent was kind of possible. Like, I think Chance the Rapper came out when I was in college, and he was like one of the first independent artists.
One of the
to, like,
game changers,
yeah, to
right,
like
for the
really
business.
open up the door to seeing that was a possibility. But I still, up until I would say like 2018, was still of the mindset of like, oh, like I want to be discovered. I don't want to do all of this other stuff. And to be clear, I still don't want to do all this stuff, but I see the cost reward. And especially with this last project, I very intentionally was like, I want to finish all the music and then I want to shop it around. Because I will say my mother, since day one, has been the one to tell me, you know, like, we have been able to be so fortunate because your father owns his masters. Like, that has been instilled in me for a really long time, even when I didn't understand what that meant, you know?
Right.
But going into this project, I really wanted to be like, I want to make sure that I own all of this. So I finished all the music and then started shopping it around. And people really liked it. But the other thing about this is, because I'm independent and can do whatever I want, I actually released this record, singles and the album, with dates that work best for my chart, astrologically speaking.
I love that so much.
It's called Scorpio. I was like, might as well just like lean into it, you know?
Right.
And I was really set on that because, like, for a number of reasons, but also because I can do whatever I want. And it was also like, why not? You
Right.
know, like, if this helps, it helps. And if it doesn't,
Right.
like, whatever. But the people that I was speaking to, they were like, oh, like, we're booked up for the first half of the year. Like, they just couldn't work with it. And so I was like, well, I'm really set on this. So I'm just going to upload my stuff to DistroKid like I did in
Apparently, you are not the
2018.
one.
Right.
Apparently, Madison McFerrin is my guest. We're listening to her new project, Scorpio. It's streaming right now, and we got a lot to talk about. KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominic DePrima when we come forward.
I'm Alexandria Ikamoni with BIN News Now. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson is blasting President Trump over the indictment of former FBI Director James Comey. The black man said the indictment is further proof that the president is using the government to go after his political enemies.
I really want to call him a name, but my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ is asking me to just stay saved.
Officials say the gunman in the deadly shooting at a Dallas ICE facility said he wanted to, quote, maximize lethality, end quote, against ICE agents. The acting U.S. Attorney for North Texas says a note found at the residence of the suspected gunman said he wanted to cause terror for agents. Netflix will reportedly be the home for MLB's opening day game next year for many fans, including black fans, to enjoy. That's according to The Athletic, which cited sources briefed on the deal. Get BIN News Now on the iHeartRadio app.
Do you really know what's in your tap water? LifeSource believes your water should support your health, not work against it. Upgrade your water with a LifeSource whole house water system during September's Double Dip promo. Call 800-WATER-99 or visit LifeSourceWater.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers continue their ownership of the National League West Division. Their 8-0 win Thursday at Arizona secured their fourth straight division title and 12th in the last 13 years. Winning the title gives the Dodgers a first-round bye and home field advantage in their first playoff series. The Dodgers wrap up the regular season with a 3-game series at Seattle beginning tonight. Seattle won the American League West title. J.J. Redick will be the Lakers head coach for a while. The Lakers extended Redick's contract with a multi-year deal that will keep him as head coach beyond 2028. Redick signed a 4-year contract with the Lakers when he was hired in June of 2024. The Lakers had a pretty good season in Redick's first year as a head coach on any level. They won 50 games last season and finished third in the Western Conference. The Lakers opened training camp on Monday. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Founded in Los Angeles in 1986, litigation powerhouse Quinn Emanuel has deep roots in the Los Angeles community. Since 2007, we have litigated some of the largest fires on the West Coast. We are proud to be the only AmLaw 100 firm in the country to represent wildfire victims, giving affected individuals, families, and businesses the same focus and individualized attention we devote to our Fortune 500 clients. BTI Consulting has repeatedly recognized Quinn Emanuel as among the 4 law firms in-house counsel least like to oppose in any litigation, and we are often deemed the most feared. And after securing over $80 billion for our clients in various matters firm-wide, we understand why. If you have been affected by the recent wildfires in Altadena and the Palisades and would like to discuss your situation further, please contact wildfire support at QuinnEmanuel.com or call us at 213-443-3050. Quinn Emanuel is proud to sponsor Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Hey, KBLA 1580 delegation, your health matters to us. We know that information is power, especially when it comes to prevention and treatment. That's why we're proud to introduce the brand new KBLA Health and Wellness Hub. This online space is built just for you, connecting our community to trusted health resources, culturally relevant care, and even access to diverse clinical trials and emerging therapies. Whether you're looking for information on common conditions, mental health support, or just want to stay on top of your wellness journey, we got you. And the best part, it's all on our website at KBLA1580.com. Accessible, empowering, community-focused. So just go to KBLA1580.com and click on the Health and Wellness Hub icon, because knowledge is power and your health is everything. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicolai Corte. Let's preserve Black land stories before they're lost forever. I want to personally invite you to be a part of something historic. As journalist in residence for the Black Land Loss Narrative Archive Project, I've joined forces with powerhouse attorney and social justice champion George Fothery, the man who helped make history by delivering justice to the Bruce family in Manhattan Beach, securing the first known return of land unjustly taken from Black owners by a local government. That victory was monumental, but it was just the beginning. For generations, Black families have acquired land through grit, faith, and determination, only to lose it through violence, legal loopholes, forced sales, and systematic racism. What's been taken goes far beyond dirt and deeds. It's the erasure of wealth, identity, and legacy. That's why we've launched the Black Land Loss Narrative Archive Project, a national effort to collect, protect, and preserve the stories of Black land loss before they're buried, forgotten, or erased altogether. Because there's power in telling Black stories, there is resistance in remembering, and there's justice in being seen and heard. This is where you come in. We're inviting you to be a part of this historic Black narrative archive. If you or someone you know has experienced land loss, displacement, or forced property sales, your story deserves to be heard and remembered. Your story belongs in this archive. Your truth matters not just to your family, but to our collective future. Visit blacklandloss.org today. Fill out our simple intake form and add your voice to the National Archive of Remembrance, Resilience, and Reckoning. Let's make these stories live on, not in whispers, but on the record. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicolai Corte, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where everybody is somebody and nobody is a stranger. You belong here.
Don't you worry, baby. I got the time and I'ma give it to you. Give you the world before you fall asleep. Girl, don't you worry, baby. I got the time and I'ma give it to you.
So this is you on Tyler the Creator. Too bad we couldn't play Tyler's part because it's not radio friendly at the moment.
It's very short, so the song is like 90% me, which is kind of crazy.
Was that wild? How did that feel to know that you have this artist that's obviously a fan of you?
I mean, I'm still kind of tweaking about it. I'm gonna be honest. He had originally posted the Ain't It Nice video back in March on his story. Didn't tag me in it. I found out from other people being like, oh my God, you're in Tyler the Creator story. And I'm a big Tyler the Creator fan. Like, I think he's, in terms of male rappers, him and Kendrick are my top two in like right now, and have been for a minute. I think that they are such artists. And so to have a cosign by him was already like, wow, that's amazing. But then he called me to hop on a track. I had no idea it was coming out so soon. He announced the record was dropping on Friday, that it was coming out on Monday, and I didn't know if it was going to be on it, which is kind of notoriously how people that big do things. They just like, people are a part of it, and then you find out when the album drops if you made it or not. So I was like definitely freaking out over the weekend, but then he had announced his listening party, and I asked if I could pull up, and I did. And it wasn't until I saw his engineer, and his engineer hugged me and said congratulations, that I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. But also because like I like literally did not even know that he was putting out a new project. He just put out his last album less than a year ago.
Yeah,
so it was like, I thought that there was going to be a second, but hey, I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it at all. There are 3 features on the album: Pharrell, Yebba, and me.
Yay. I love that so much. I love that for you. I feel like your hard work is paying off, right?
Yes.
You've been touring,
Mhm.
you've been writing when you have your writing bursts, and doing all the jobs of being an independent. Glad to hear you have another manager now.
Yes.
But still, there's still at least 10 other jobs you're doing. I know.
100%. And I'm very grateful that from, what was it, like April, May, and June, I got back together with a lot of the team that I had the last time around. So Biz3 was helping out with PR, and Cosign doing my radio stuff. And I already have agents. So like I was able to with the album release, I at least had help with, but you know, even so, it's like leading up to Ain't It Nice, I didn't have press for Ain't It Nice, and like that's the song that he found, and I guess he had also realized that he had heard No Time to Lose like a few years back. But yeah, I was tweaking. I'm still tweaking.
But it seems like, I mean, it's Tyler, but it's Tiny Desk.
Yeah,
but it's,
no, all of these
I'm
things have been
seeing more
happening.
press for you. It feels
Boom, boom,
like,
boom.
yeah, like it's organically
Yeah.
growing. And to me, that I'm not surprised, because I feel like you are going to just keep going in that trajectory. I just have a really strong feeling about you and your music.
I also have a strong feeling about me and my music.
Yay!
So I'm
You
happy
would
that
have
things
to do all that work.
Right. Oh my God. You have to have so much confidence in yourself. And honestly, like I don't have a plan B. I don't know what else I would do. It'd be something with food, but it's not, I don't want to make a career out of that. But yeah, I really feel like the universe has opened up for me in a way that I'm incredibly grateful for. When I was ending things with my ex, I saw this tweet that said, "Sometimes not yet is God saying not with them around." And I really feel like that's what's happening. Not because of him specifically. I don't want to put all of this on him, and also he doesn't deserve the credit. But, you know, truly, I really think that the universe rewards you when you are present with not just who you are, but also with love. And I don't think I could be successful in that last relationship because I couldn't be myself. And my heart chakra was so closed in that dynamic. And I really think that I'm being rewarded by the universe. This is what it feels like. I feel like I'm being rewarded by the universe for stepping aside from something that did not work for me and suppressed who I was fully. And now that I'm really fully myself, this is the most myself I've felt since I was a kid. This is the happiest I've been since I was a little kid. I think that when you open your heart to love, not just romantic, but just like love, period, which also has to do with love of self, I think that that's when you actually succeed, because energy feeds off of energy. And I mean, I think it's great that this is all happening during the happiest moments of my life.
Yeah, it's
so far.
It's momentum. It's great
Right.
energy, right? You're, and you say most being yourself, but you are unique. I mean, we all are unique, but you're within the music business. You're unique. There's a lot going on that sort of regimented in a way,
Mhm.
especially for women. You have to have, you know, a certain body, certain makeup, certain hair, for a lot of the industry.
Totally.
And
Totally.
you don't do. You're a natural girly.
Yes. A lot of that has to do with the fact that I'm lazy. And I'm just like, honestly, I love makeup. But it takes so long to take off. Is the
That
main
is true.
problem.
That is true.
You know, and I was raised properly in the sense of you always take off your makeup before you go to bed. You don't go to bed with a full face of makeup. You gotta wash your face,
It's
you gotta
really
do all
bad
those
for you,
things.
yeah.
So, and also like I have sensitive skin. That's the like white mom Irish side of me. And so if I have too much makeup on, it like actually messes with my face a lot, you know? So I'm just like, I
mean,
have
but you
good
got
skin.
natural hair,
Right, right.
natural. Yeah, and you're also blessed that you look beautiful without any of it. You actually don't, quote unquote, need it. Not technically, I guess none of us do, but you
Right.
really don't.
I appreciate it.
But it's natural body,
Yeah.
natural hair, natural.
Also, it's just like
beauty.
there's so many toxic beauty standards out right now.
Yeah.
I feel very blessed that I have been raised with a sense of self-confidence from both of my parents to just like love who I am, and like I understand that I'm also attractive, and like I have really solid genetics and those things, and so I haven't dealt with the same kind of insecurities in that way. But I want people to see that you can just like be yourself. You know, I film a lot of Instagram stories like in the morning when I first wake up, and I'm just in my robe and my bonnet, and it's like because I don't want to have to like put on a face for you guys to like me.
Yeah,
I'm about my music, you know. It's like and then it's like a surprise when I dress up and like.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, and I don't want to give the wrong impression.
No.
You will put on some makeup,
Yeah.
and you got plenty of sexy dresses.
Right, I like
don't want to give the
looking
wrong
good.
impression, but you're clearly you have your own way of looking at things, your own aesthetic. Even when you dress, when you do makeup, you don't look like the Real Housewives of somewhere.
Well, sometimes they be looking crazy.
No doubt.
Yeah, but
I mean,
it's okay.
But
it's okay. To
Do
each their
your-
own.
right.
Like if you feel beautiful, that's really what matters. I think a lot of it too was I was so bogged down in this notion that in order for me to put out videos, specifically TikToks, like I had to look a type of way, you know. But now it's just like, no, I'd rather just put out stuff, and if I look dusty, like I look dusty.
I've never seen you look dusty, but I will say
appreciate
I've never
that.
seen you look anywhere near dusty. But you're talking about your aesthetic and food. What is that on your shirt?
Oh, this is Not Like Us. This is from the pop out that
Right.
Kendrick had on Juneteenth.
Right.
I was there.
Yeah, we were in Africa, or we would have been there. We're jealous.
Damn. No, I was there, and so this is the merch. This is the
But what is that,
meal.
ramen,
No, it's
or-
the meal that he calls out in Euphoria.
Oh, okay.
Also, the back says "wop wop wop wop." I was disappointed because they had a shirt that said, "Sometimes you gotta pop out and show," and I really wanted it, but it was long sleeves. And this is last Juneteenth. I was like, "It's hot as hell. What are we doing?" And it was $50. I was like, "I don't want to cut off the sleeves. I already am gonna crop it because I do that with all of my time." Pretty much.
Me and Miles were mad. We were in Africa. We missed that show.
It was fun.
But not only did you go, you got the merch, and you're wearing it on my show right now.
Listen,
See?
I wanted to represent Southside LA.
Okay. There you go, South Central. Well, you are. We're broadcasting live from Lamert Park, Crenshaw District, Los Angeles, California. Madison McFerrin is here with me. I'm Dominique DePrima for KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Founded in Los Angeles in 1986, litigation powerhouse Quinn Emanuel has deep roots in the Los Angeles community. Since 2007, we have litigated some of the largest fires on the West Coast. We are proud to be the only AmLaw 100 firm in the country to represent wildfire victims, giving affected individuals, families, and businesses the same focus and individualized attention we devote to our Fortune 500 clients. BTI Consulting has repeatedly recognized Quinn Emanuel as among the 4 law firms in-house counsel least likely to oppose in any litigation, and we are often deemed the most feared. And after securing over $80 billion for our clients in various matters firm-wide, we understand why. If you have been affected by the recent wildfires in Altadena and the Palisades and would like to discuss your situation further, please contact wildfire support at QuinnEmanuel.com or call us at 213-443-3050. Quinn Emanuel is proud to sponsor Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has WorkSource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewdd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All of these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds. Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
This is Secret Clinical dominating extra stinky stress sweat. And this is regular deodorant. Secret Clinical in a heat wave. Oh, what a beautiful day. This is regular deodorant. Ugh, I can't. Secret Clinical with workout sweat. Let's run another marathon. And regular deodorant. How much more? Secret is the GOAT because nothing fights sweat better. Stay fresher under pressure.
Hello, KBLA delegation. Tavis Smiley here. On Saturday, October 25th, LA Trade Tech becomes the epicenter of ideas that matter. The Left Coast Forum is bringing together voices that challenge, inspire, and illuminate with keynote presentations from people like noted economist Richard Wolff, the man who breaks down capitalism in ways that make sense to working folk like you and me, and Dr. Cornel West will be there, the brilliant philosopher and activist who never stops fighting for justice and speaking truth to power and to the powerless for that matter. So this isn't just another conference. This is where ideas get tested, where the conversations that shape our future begin. Multiple plenary sessions, dynamic speakers, real talk about the issues that impact our communities, and then some good food and a live band. Saturday, October 25th, LA Trade Tech, Left Coast Forum. The event is free and open to the public, but you must register at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can also peep the plenary topics. The future belongs to those who show up and engage. So don't just think about change, be part of the conversation that creates it. The Left Coast Forum is brought to you by the LA Progressive, the Empowerment Congress, Community Coalition, Partnership for Growth LA, Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, LA Care Health Plan, United Teachers Los Angeles, Black Progressive Action Coalition, St. John's Community Health, the National Lawyers Guild, the Weingart Foundation, and more. Space is limited, so if I were you, I'd register right now at KBLA1580.com. Your voice matters, your presence matters. We'll see you there.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DePrima on First Things First.
And we're with Madison McFerrin. I wish we can play every song on your new album and every song on the last one. It's just a lot of good music. And I was talking about your different personas. I didn't just mean the quality of your voice or your look. The musical sounds too. You go rock and roll. You've got some, jazz festival, Madison. There's, definitely, super smooth, and then very happy. There's more dark Madison. There's a lot of poetry, a lot of different kinds of expression happening here.
Well, I mean, like I said before, I was just creating music that I liked.
Just doing yourself.
I was, I really feel like I'm just a vessel for something greater, and so I was just making the music how it was meant to be made.
You went full Bridgerton on songs, like some classical sort of.
Was it? And I think it's also it has to do with the music I was raised with. I was raised with a lot of different type of music in my life, and so I like for my own sound to reflect that, and I think that it's hard not to, just because of the household I was raised in. Like, there was a lot of different types of music going around all the time, so I pulled from all of it.
You're also, I think, very just outspoken, right? I've seen a couple. I saw one, I don't know if you called it just a commentary that you did on Instagram calling people out.
Yeah.
And some people, for me, the first time I ever heard you was that MFers Guilty, which was a repeated hit.
Yeah.
For Derek Chauvin, and then again for the president.
Right. Unfortunately, I've used it multiple times.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
But it's actually, it's cool because you're harmonizing and it sounds really sweet and cool, but you're going that MFers Guilty. And it, to me, it's giving a little bit of your personality. You can be soft, you can be jazzy, but you're also like, no BS.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely my mom. I was raised to be an empathetic person, and that also comes with not dealing with any BS, because we have an empathy deficit at the moment.
Yeah, but I do think a lot of artists have gone in retreat as far as being outspoken politically.
Well, now we're living in a fascist state, and so they're definitely trying to make people afraid, excuse me, of speaking out, which is art's main purpose has been political, even when it's not speaking towards something political, period, or specifically, it's like making art is political. You're doing something that's against the grain of society, and art has always been a place where people speak up against power. And I think it's also one of the best ways to actually get people to see themselves, you know? Like I feel like my whole purpose is to be a storyteller so that other people can see themselves in my stories. Like, I'm writing about things that are hyper specific to me, but I'm not the first person to go through heartbreak or a breakup or have been in a toxic situation, you know? So it's like, I'm just trying to be as authentically myself as possible. And I feel no fear towards speaking out with what I believe in, because I'm pretty solid in my morals, and that they are on the right side of history, you know? So it's like, why would I be afraid to speak up about something where I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure that the thing that I'm speaking up against is like, not to be like I'm always right type of thing, but it's like, I feel like we should be able to call a spade a spade.
Well, you're speaking
You know?
from what you believe rather than trying to be trendy or
Right.
repeat something you heard, or it's based in your own
Yeah,
ethics and morals.
totally.
And I've heard you call people out politically. I actually find it refreshing
Thank you.
because you kind of have this, well, if you don't like it, unfollow me.
Right, totally. It's like I truly don't care about losing quote unquote fans who actually don't believe in what's best for humanity, period. Because if you voted for this whack job, you actually don't care about me as a woman. You don't care about me as a Black woman. Like, there are so many things that, like, you are actually anti-me. You can try and say that you did it for XYZ reasons, but it's like, no, at the end of the day, you actually don't care that this person is racist and a misogynist and a rapist and a felon and all of these things. And so, like, I don't need you to be a fan, and I'm not worried about losing you. And like, that's fine by me. I literally have no qualms with losing people who are actually anti the betterment of all human beings.
In the chat, Terry says it's jazzy like Nancy Wilson. Molly Bell says, I love songs with stories. And MJ Scott says, Dominique Asante for introducing me to Madison. She and her father are musically gifted. Your father, your brother, I'm pretty sure there's others that we don't know about.
My middle brother, Javon, is an actor, but he has an incredible voice and was on Broadway.
Wow.
In a little show that you may have heard called Hamilton.
Oh, yeah,
he played
that little
Hamilton.
thing.
So, you know.
So what does that do in your artistry coming from a musical family? Is it scary? Like, is it competition, or is it just a fact of life? How does that play
It's really
out?
just a fact of life. I definitely used to feel pressure not to do art, but just the fact that I was doing art, the same kind of art, more or less, as my father. You know, I'm a vocalist. He's a vocalist. He's one of the best vocalists, period. Like, that's not even a question, you know? He is the first to do on stage what he honed, you know, like, he's a master. And you don't realize that growing up because he's just doing it around the house all the time. And if anything, you're like, Dad, can you shut up for like 5 minutes?
Right.
But then when I got to college, especially, I was like, oh, this guy's actually a really big deal.
Yeah.
And at that time, who knows who they are in college? Barely anybody, right? I thought the fact that I knew that I wanted to be a singer was more than most. You know, I had a career path that I was trying to go after, but there was a lot of pressure then. But now I just feel honored and grateful because I've recognized that my part is just the next step in the legacy, and I'm meant to carry this torch forward. My father has been an incredible father and conduit for joy for so many people. And I think that that's incredibly inspiring, and I wear that with a badge of honor.
That's great. That's dope. A dope way of looking at it. Man, time flies when you're on the radio. You're going to be in LA and you're going to be in the Bay coming up in October.
Yes.
Next.
I start tour September 30th in Phoenix, I believe. And we'll be on the road until October 23rd, which is actually the first day of Scorpio. So I think that that's kind of cool that we're ending
on
that
Scorpio.
way. Yeah. And it's during Libra season. I'm a Libra moon. I'm like, okay, this is all working out. But yeah, I'll be in LA on October 2nd at the Roxy and at August Hall in San Francisco on October 3rd.
Well, thank you for coming back. It's great to talk with you.
Lovely talking with
and
you
I appreciate
anytime.
your supporting our whole Black-owned radio station.
Always. Gotta be there for our people, you know?
Yay. Tavis Smiley is up next. Until tomorrow, one love.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Alexandria Ikamoni with BIN News Now. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson is blasting President Trump over the indictment of former FBI Director James Comey. The black man said the indictment is further proof that the president is using the government to go after his political enemies.
I really want to call him a name, but my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ is asking me to just stay saved.
Officials say the gunman in the deadly shooting at a Dallas ICE facility said he wanted to, quote, maximize lethality, end quote, against ICE agents. The acting U.S. attorney for North Texas says a note found at the residence of the suspected gunman said he wanted to cause terror for agents. Netflix will reportedly be the home for MLB's opening day